Part 58. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 573. Welcome, please remember the address of this website, so that you can read the latest chapter of the novel Rebirth of the Giant Mosquito in the Starry Sky at any time. Jia Yan moved his body, which had not moved all night, and then headed towards the outside of his residence. In the outside world, the beings from the angel camp are already waiting one by one. Jia Yan, we will not give up today. We will win as much as we can. I hope you can still help my angel camp. The four-eyed monster stood at the front and said calmly to Jia Yan. Don't worry, I will continue to work hard. Jia Yan responded calmly. He secretly said in his heart, even if you don't work hard, I have to work hard alone. After all, this is related to my mutation plan. Of course, it was impossible for him to express this idea. A group of strong men continued to move towards the competition venue. The universe is mysterious and unpredictable, and those who can rule the starry sky are often extremely powerful and brilliant civilizations. In this starry sky, the level of civilization in the desolate galaxy can be said to be very powerful. If people on Earth come here to watch it, they will definitely be extremely horrified and feel like they have entered the world of science fiction. However, in this world, in addition to science fiction, there are also strong fighters who are different from those in science fiction movies. They are the real leaders of the science fiction world. Let us welcome the warriors of today's competition. They are all teams that have overcome many obstacles from their opponents and successfully advanced. After the first competition, the host's voice resounded in the dark space of the deep tunnel. In this starry sky, countless sightseeing spacecrafts are coming and going, and the center point of the spacecraft is the venue for this competition. The size of this venue is not too small, with a length and width of about tens of kilometers, and it is filled with countless alien life forms. And the battle between the strong men that made them extremely crazy began under everyone's attention. In the past, they could only admire and tremble at the feet of the starry sky-level powerhouses. Today, they are constantly fighting under their watch. Each of these ordinary creatures are very willing to pay a little money to watch the battles of these powerhouses and satisfy them. Feelings that I never dared to express in the past. Look, this is the Angel Camp's power spaceship. They are also here today. I wonder if Mr. Jia Yan, who won the victory yesterday, is in it. Among the many spaceships, there was suddenly a creature in the spaceship, pointing at the spacecraft passing by the contestants' passage. Sure enough, among all the anti-ships passing by the spaceships, there was one with a strange symbol. At least before today, very few people knew about this spaceship and its logo. However, at this time, their appearance has been revealed through various media. Has long spread to the entire galaxy. In the first game of the war, they won 5 games in a row, bringing the force back from the brink of defeat. Lord Jia Yan of the Angel Camp was unanimously rated as the most valuable foreign aid in yesterday's battle, and even some of the forces spoke overnight, intending to hire Jia Yan as a temporary foreign aid, and the commission would be more than double that of the average starry sky level. You must know that in this conference, it is still the world of the early starry sky. It is unprecedented to give such a high commission to a strong person in the early starry sky. Of course, it is impossible for Giant Mosquito to accept it, and these forces have never thought that the other party will accept it, because in this kind of competition, foreign aid who changes forces before the battle is generally not looked down upon, and almost no strong people do this. No matter who the starry sky level powerhouses are in this starry sky, they are prestigious, and they will not do such things as defecting in battle just for the extra money. The players from the Angel Camp entered the competition field. Yesterday, Jia Yan only focused on observing his opponents, so today he finally had free time to take a look at the environment here. The so-called battle arena is made of tens of kilometers of interstellar material. In the central area of this barren galaxy where every inch of land is precious, it is a completely behemoth. The Dayton clan back then had no idea how much energy they spent dragging this behemoth from outside the galaxy to the inside of the galaxy. Sure enough, it is the black technology of aliens. I really don't know how long it will take for people on Earth to reach this level. Jia Yan looked at the surrounding environment. Some feelings. This kind of black technology, along with his strength, has gone through a lot along the way, but now, Jia Yan can no longer keep up with this kind of technology. If there are no instructions for using many things, he will not understand them at all. Fortunately, after several mutations, the big mosquito's head is definitely countless times more powerful than that of ordinary people, so even if he didn't adapt well to this starry sky at first, after a period of understanding, he has gradually integrated into the starry sky. Lived. Today's battle is between the forces of the contestants who have passed the preliminary round, while the battle between the forces that have not passed the preliminary round will begin on the second day. In short, losing is not necessarily a bad thing, and winning is not necessarily a good thing. After all, after winning, you may face a death race, which will really make you want to cry without tears. Our forces may encounter this kind of rivalry from the Angel camp today. Be careful of that guy named Jia Yan. Angel camp? Among them, Jia Yan is the only one who needs a little attention, and the others are not of concern. When the powerful men saw the Angel camp team, they all looked at the foreign aide Jia Yan with fear, while the rest of the Angel camp members did not pay much attention. It seems that we are not favored by them, haha. The scale monster looked at the pointing fingers of the starry sky level creatures around him, with a flash of evil in his eyes. Okay, we have to perform well in today's game, otherwise we will be laughed at by them. It is not a good thing to become stronger just by relying on good luck. Getting a foreign aid? The four-eyed monster didn't really enjoy the feeling of being looked down upon. At this moment, there was a faint terrifying energy crawling on the surface of its body, and it seemed that it couldn't wait to fight with its opponent. Welcome to the Chaos Stone Collection Tournament Quota Competition. Here is the off-site broadcast brought to you by the host Tian Tian of the Dayton tribe. Now we can see the resting area of the contestants. Tian Tian is in a very uneasy mood. Are those strong men in the starry sky as scary as we imagined? Are those strong men not treating ordinary people? Do you ignore it or not? A live interview outside the venue was unfolding. A large crew follows an alien woman. Tian Tian is a female being who looks very in line with public aesthetics. She has two heads, and both heads have beautiful compound eyes. She looks faintly like stars and is very charming. Well, this is for alien creatures, and people on Earth may not be able to accept it. My lord, what kind of powerful force are you? Tian Tian was about 5 meters tall, and was completely small in front of a passing star-level player. Me? I'm from Donkin's force. Oh, Miss Tian Tian, I'm a fan of yours. Can you sign your autograph for me? This strong man had no ability to resist Tianation's charm. He directly state the signature requirement. After agreeing to the strong man's request for an autograph, Tian Tian continued the live broadcast. Okay, the special force we are going to interview today is already waiting for us. So what kind of force will it be? We will wait and see. The interracial beauty swayed her body in front of the media and arrived at a player's lounge. When the media entered the scene, they saw only a huge monster with 4 eyes. Behind him, there was a flying creature. This flying creature had shining eyes, which was extremely terrifying. Next to this flying creature are the other 3 powerful starry sky-level creatures. Standing further away are the heaven-level substitute creatures that can barely occupy the realm. The mystery is revealed. The mysterious force interviewed today is the Angel camp that was in the limelight yesterday. Tian Tian made an introduction pose in front of Jingtu. Jia Yan, who was in front of the border, had to resist the urge to beat this huge alien woman who pretended to be cute. You may not be very familiar with the Angel camp, but if you see the face of this strong man, I believe you will be familiar with it. He made a comeback yesterday, and his strength will definitely make all the early starry sky strong. The powerful master who must be treated with caution is also the latest newcomer and star, Master Jia Yan. Tian Tian came to Jia Yan, and at the same time, the person occupying the frontier pointed directly at Jia Yan's location. "Hello everyone," Jia Yan's helpless voice spread to the outside world through the media. The photography machine promptly focused on Jia Yan's expression. "Haha, Lord Jia Yan, did you see the beautiful and lovely Miss Tian Tian?" The soldier's heart melted, so he seemed absent-minded. The deputy host on one side is a male existence, but he can only intervene at the right time. That's all. Tian Tian robbed her of the opportunity to speak at other times. Haha, yes, Jia Yan felt a chill and just nodded. In fact, Jia Yan was helpless. When he came to participate in the competition, the four-eyed monster was very excited and said that there would be a huge surprise later. Later, he was told that the media would come to interview, and the interviewer was the starry sky. The famous social butterfly beauty reporter Tian Tian. Naturally, Jia Yan didn't know any beautiful reporter, so when he saw this Tian Tian, he instantly had the illusion that 10,000 grass mud horses were running past his eyes. Is this also called a beauty? Jia Yan felt extremely sorry for himself, who had been expecting a little bit. Obviously one should not believe in the eyes of aliens, but the eyes of the aliens here were even more abnormal than those of the aliens at Yingxian Arm, which made Jia Yan speechless. Okay, let's first interview this wise and talented leader of the angel camp. How did you first fall in love with this Lord Jia Yan, and how were you able to win such a powerful Lord Jia Yan to join your force? Ahem, this is a long and complicated story. The four-eyed monster looked at Tian Tian beside him. It was obvious that he was very attracted to this beautiful woman, so he wanted to show off. Later, when Jia Yan was dumbfounded, he took the initiative to join in and turned into a four-eyed monster. After many hardships, regardless of his own self-esteem, he looked at the grass several times, and then he reluctantly moved the legendary strongman, Master Jia Yan, so that he came to the angel camp force, and yesterday, through his exquisite tactics, he finally created such an amazing record. Not only Jia Yan was dumbfounded, but the pink monster, scale monster, etc. on the side were also extremely shocked, as if the impression of the four-eyed monster they usually saw was completely overturned. Well, let's interview the person involved. That is, the strong man who has made a big splash, and even had experience fighting against the powerful Tian long before, Mr. Jia Yan. Even Tian Tian couldn't bear to listen to the boast about the four-eyed monster, and quickly turned the interviewee towards Jia Yan. In fact, anyone who looks at it will know at a glance that they came specifically for Jia Yan, but the four-eyed monster was there, and all the staff were speechless. This guy really has the right to accept their interviews just because he is the leader of a small force, right? There is simply no self-awareness. Master Jia Yan gives people a different kind of pressure. I feel a different sense of fear no matter how close I get to him. Tian Tian approached Jia Yan, and she immediately felt an eerie and terrifying feeling. No need to speak, Jia Yan glared at her. This feeling of terror was the coercion of a starry sky-level powerhouse that Jia Yan deliberately unleashed. What he meant was very simple. He didn't want to accept any interview, nor did he want to be interviewed by some interstellar beauty. So Lord Jia Yan, do you agree with what the leader of the angel force said before? Tian Tian smiled and changed the topic. I agree, Jia Yan said calmly. Oh? What is your outlook for today? Do you think the angel camp can continue to go on today? Abel. About your victory yesterday, everyone said it was a huge miracle, and some said it was an absolute demonstration of your strength. Do you think this statement is correct? Well, it's okay to say it's correct, but I don't want to express too much. Jia Yan answered several questions in a lukewarm manner. Tian Tian felt a little embarrassed when she heard this. Jia Yan's attitude was clearly uncooperative. This starry sky beauty has interviewed so many powerful people, which is extremely rare. What's even more depressing is that this situation is not live broadcast, and there is no chance to switch. Okay, I wish Lord Jia Yan a successful start today, and we won't disturb your pre-war rest. Tianation's voice became a little unnatural. When the camera followed Tian away, Jia Yan and others could still vaguely hear the interstellar beauty named Tian shouting loudly, "Does he really think he is a strong person? How many middle-level and peak adults, even though I rejected him, even if he wanted to have dinner with me, this guy still pretends to be strong with me." Tian left with a groan, leaving only the speechless Jia Yan and the strong men from the angel camp on the side. "I actually talked to Miss Tian. The four-eyed monster changed its previous calmness and kept looking at the departing Miss Tian. "Jia Yan, you are indeed not a man like them who values beauty." The scale monster came to Jia Yan and made a sound of praise that Jia Yan couldn't understand. "Is this also called beauty? It's already pretty good if I'm not scared to wake you up in the middle of the night." Jia Yan was speechless and thought about what the so-called beauty meant. He didn't come to any big conclusion and had to give up. And on the other side, the beauty Tian. During the break in the live interview, I quietly went to the side and flipped through the competition catalog. Then I took out my communicator and broadcast a number. "It's Mr. Tongpashe. I'm Tian. Someone bullied me just now. I'm not happy. Can you help me teach him a lesson?" Jia Yan did not understand what this alien beauty did, let alone know that what an alien beauty did was no different from those girls on Earth. He actually called his concubine to help at this time. "Okay, let's put away the fun just now. Next is our second day of competition." After Tian left, the four-eyed monster said to the other strong men with a straight face, "But his appearance has been destroyed, and now he can't get it back at all." The exciting second day of conference competition is about to begin, and the contestants are welcome to play. A contestant came on stage. The host on the stage was still explaining hard. He not only talked about the situation on the day of the game, but also talked about some noteworthy news about the strong players. The Gathering Conference is a huge profit-making machine, and the Dayton clan has launched an official winning and losing game without exception. Those who have some spare money will buy the strong ones they like. The organizers will provide certain funds to the contestants who participate based on their performance. This actually shows that this kind of competition has changed from just trying to escape the Chaos Stone to a national activity. There are even weak forces like the Angel Camp who come to participate just to build their reputation. All the teams in the game have been introduced. Now let's take a look at the big screen. Which two opposing forces will engage in the first battle? Okay. The first battle is between the Dragon Bone Force and the Paikan Luozu mercenary group. On the battlefield, the first two forces to fight came to the stage and the battle began. Angel Camp can't always be placed first, that would be too pushy. It's also unfair. This is today's battle schedule. Take a look at it. It also includes yesterday's opponent's battle video. Holding the image intelligence brain thrown by the four-eyed monster, Jia Yan lightly looked at the situation of Li's first battle. After discovering that there was no midterm powerhouse among them, and no one that needed his attention, he shook his head and opened the "With your brain in mind, watch the images and introduce them." Huh? This one is called Tongpi Society. It's worth noting, Jia Yan watched 3 games and immediately identified the opponent's first player. Although this guy gave up in the 3rd game, it wasn't that he lost. It was that he took a rest to preserve his energy. What's even more frightening is that this guy is an existence that is infinitely close to the middle stage of the starry sky. Jia Yan went over the opponent's battle yesterday. In the end, because the number of players between the two sides was too different, he decided that the power of Na Tongpi Society won directly. It seems that the biggest enemy today is him. Jia Yan thought lightly, and unknowingly, his thoughts returned to the combat materials he had read overnight. The book has passed 2 million words the day before yesterday, haha, Bulletin U has been writing books for so long, and this is the first book with more than 2 million words. Giant Mosquito has reached 2 million words, it's worth celebrating. Thank you for your support of this site. Next time you read this book, remember to search or Rebirth of the Starry Sky Giant Mosquito and or Rebirth of the Starry Sky Giant Mosquito and PPXS on Baidu. This is your motivation to update this site, provides full text online reading with no pop-ups and no ads, faster updates and better article quality. If you think this site is good, remember to recommend it to your friends in QQ groups and Weibo. Reborn as an Interstellar Giant Mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 574. It seems that I can try it today and use some of the tactics in those materials. Looking at the list of opponents, Jia Yan felt that today's battle would be interesting. After all, my previous fighting methods were all figured out by myself. Now that I have a little theoretical guidance, I can definitely fight more reasonably. Jia Yan thought for a while and summed up some of his biggest shortcomings through yesterday's viewing. He was full of expectations for the upcoming battle. Although fighting habits cannot be modified so easily, it is not impossible if it is just a little tactical optimization. So let me see today whether the tactics I figured out all night are useful. The battle in the ring raged. Jia Yan looked at the battle above. After systematically reading those battle theories and tactics books, he saw the battle in the ring with a different perspective. According to the conclusion written in the Mortal Tactics book, the outcome of the two sides on the field has been determined, and the winner will be Party A. Jia Yan looked at the heated battle on the ring with a sparkle in his eyes. Boom! Just after a huge collision, a huge figure suddenly flew out. At the same time, the referee judged that the figure that flew upside down had lost. Seeing this, Jia Yanfu's eyes became even brighter. Sure enough, I guessed right. Although this judgment needs to be based on my own combat experience and eyesight, I just happened to be able to use it. I guess the scale monster didn't think that the information she gave me at will would be so useful. After all, Jia Yan has not gone through systematic study. In this situation, he is like a blank piece of paper. Therefore, in this situation, he can make great progress by just reading a few excellent combat books. This kind of thing is not impossible. In addition to these few electronic books, I don't know if they are just in line with Jia Yan's taste and just solved some of his accumulated doubts, so Jia Yan is making such progress now. The battle in the ring continues. Jia Yan changed his previous composure and watched the battles at this moment. Through these battles, combined with the information he read, he finally had his own summary and judgment on the tactics and combat experience summarized in this starry sky. It is indeed a prosperous place. The combat information and tactics here are much more powerful than those at the Immortal Arm. I only need to use those theories combined with my previous experience to judge the performance of these strong men, and it turns out that they are almost all correct. Through judgment in battle, Jia Yan expanded his vision and became not directly superior to these strong men in battle, but at least there was no gap with them. This is actually the level Jia Yan himself has reached, but if he summarizes it by himself, it may take a long time. And those ebooks were like a final touch, bringing him into a new door. With a new perspective, Jia Yan not only judged based on the experience of his predecessors, but also combined his own experience to get a more reasonable battle concept. Dear viewers, what follows is a heavyweight battle, and here's your chance to feast your eyes on it. After a battle in the early stages of the starry sky ended, the host's mysterious voice came out. What? What kind of mysterious battle is it? This host is so good at telling people's tastes. A number of viewers became displeased with the host's style. After all, they were not here to listen to books, but to enjoy the thrill of battles between strong men. Now this host always likes to satisfy their appetites, which makes people are very uncomfortable. But this is the effect the host wants. Overall, he can be said to be the top player in the industry. Perhaps the audience who heard this are already prepared, yes. Next is a battle between two starry midterm powerhouses, and they are not just ordinary starry midterms, but two extremely powerful starry midterms. When his words were spoken, the surrounding audience exclaimed. Although most of the battles arranged by the organizer had been announced yesterday, some exciting ones would not be announced until today. This is also a kind of letdown. A means of surprise and anticipation for the audience. But no one could have imagined that on this second day, they would see a powerful battle between the midterm warriors in the starry sky. But this is not necessarily true. Yesterday, there were strong men from the midterm in the starry sky who fought. Although they are said to be strong men today, they might be too weak strong men. Some viewers said this. Jia Yan in the player's seat also has some expectations. He can be sure that he is not a match for the powerful midterm star players, but if he can see more of the battles of these strong players, it will definitely help his combat effectiveness. Therefore, I am also looking forward to the mysterious and powerful person mentioned by the host. In the eyes of all the spectators, the shadows of two strong men finally appeared in the contestants' seats beside the ring. It's actually them. Some viewers were extremely surprised. How is it possible? Shouldn't these two strong men only meet in the later stages? If they meet so early, how will the battle be arranged for this conference? Some strong men were also extremely shocked at this moment. They all knew the two strong men on the stage. Even among the strong men in the early stages of the starry sky, they were extremely powerful beings. Unlike the strong men on the immortal arm, the gap between the strong men in the desolate galaxy and even in this entire starry sky who have reached the starry sky level is still huge. The difference in strength between them not only shows between levels, some strong people are almost invincible even within the same level. Those powerful beings can even fight several opponents of the same level alone, and can completely defeat those opponents. And these two came on stage exactly like this. Those who are strong in the midterm of the starry sky will endure more. The strongest person in the midterm of the starry sky is Ruoha. The two figures were bathed in the cheers of almost everyone, and walked calmly towards the ring. The audience's shouts are because these two starry sky midterm powerhouses are definitely well-known figures, and those starry sky level players are amazed because they are well deserved for their famous starry sky midterm powerhouses. These two powerhouses in the eyes of other starry sky classes, they are two extremely desperate beings fighting. I didn't expect them to confront each other directly. That's fine. In this case, they will be less aggressive against them in the future, which is completely beneficial to us. Jia Yan didn't know the reputations of these two guys, but this did not prevent him from making a rough judgment on the strength of these two strong men. So strong. They are definitely much stronger than me. Maybe they are two beings who have mastered true power. Jia Yan was a little shocked in his heart. He used to think that it was very rare for a strong referee to have real power, but now he discovered that there may be far more strong people with real power than he thought. Is it true that I have true power? It seems that I have to face them in this conference. If I want to lead the angel camp further, I have to find a way to deal with or even defeat the existence of true power. Jia Yan looked at the two players on the stage indifferently, and his fear was completely put down. After all, as an evolved beast, he still had great advantages. So even if he faced really capable players, he didn't have much fear. Haha, I didn't expect that my opponent would be you. Yesterday when the Dayton tribe told me that there would be a strong opponent today, I was still thinking, who will it be, who can become a strong opponent for me in Duoduo? If you Heiqiang, if so, it's quite qualified. The existence named Duo is a terrifying monster wearing a suit of armor and possessing a powerful body. I didn't expect that I would meet an opponent like you the next day. Unfortunately, your power will stop here. The existence named Ruo Heiqiang, although the name sounds extremely powerful, but he seems to be extremely thin, looking skinny, with almost no flesh. But when you come to this battlefield, you are destined not to be as weak as you appear. These two guys are in a special battle. When they join this special battle and are invited as mysterious players, there is no need for other beings in their own forces to come out to fight. One battle determines whether the force will advance or fail. So they will work hard. No need to say more, let's fight. Ayaduo's face was gloomy. He didn't know that he would encounter Ruo Heikyang when he joined the special battle. Boom. Ayaduo, who was almost 50 meters tall, moved his long legs and attacked Ruo Heikyang. The skinny Ruo Heikyang looked at the opponent's impact and immediately activated his own strength to dodge to the side. They are all extremely fast. Especially Ruo Heikyang, whose speed even shocked Jia Yan. Good guy, the speed he is showing now may be faster than my peak speed. If I encounter him, there is really no way to deal with him other than using Azure Defense to fight and then looking for opportunities to defeat him. On the other side of Ayaduo, Jia Yan was surprised by his power. With this much power, he is probably the most powerful among the many strong men I have seen. Of course, this must exclude the top 10 strong men who have not shown their strength. Jia Yan has seen only so many Starry Sky level powerhouses, and even fewer of them have seen action. So seeing the battle between these two Starry Sky level powerhouses now is the most powerful one he has ever seen. The battle of existence is over. Although the arena battle may be a little different from a real life and death battle, it is still more than enough for reference. Jia Yan's eyes were solemn as never before. He is trying hard to absorb the experience of fighting between the two, and how to deal with it if he encounters Tong. The Mosquito's absorptive ability has been extremely powerful since he was born. He had been busy with life and death in this starry sky before, so even then he had opportunities to move forward, but missed them again and again. Now he finally saw it with his own eyes. At this level of battle, his strength can finally be improved again by absorbing experience. At this time, the battle in the arena had reached an extremely heated level. It is foreseeable that although the fighting abilities of the two sides are different in style, there is not much difference in strength. Boom boom boom. Ayaduo's fist was covered with traces of weird golden light. Jia Yan had never seen similar energy before, but through the knowledge he absorbed yesterday, he now knew that this was the so-called real energy. True energy is an extremely powerful force that can only be comprehended in this starry sky if it exists during the starry sky period. It not only makes the owner instantly extremely powerful and almost invincible at the same level, but it is also the necessary energy to enter the peak of the starry sky stage. Without this energy, at least in this large area of Guangmao, it is not considered peak exists. What's more, it is believed that this energy is the energy necessary to enter the star level, which is the starry sky beast level that Jia Yan knows. Without this energy, it is impossible to advance to the star level, so in this galaxy, those with true power in the starry sky level are the real strong ones in the starry sky level. The midterm starry sky possesses true power, which represents the possibility of reaching its peak in the future. If a being has true power in the early days of the starry sky, it is definitely a seed being in any force. If there are no accidents, they can almost reach the peak smoothly. Of course, it is not as high as the top 10 strong ones. There is still a certain gap between the two. The top 10 powerhouses have been the strongest in this starry sky for decades and have never been shaken. There is a qualitative gap between their power and other starry sky levels. Boom boom boom. Ayaduo's attacks were constantly bombarding the ground, but even if he was blessed with true power, Naruo Heikyang still completely avoided it. However, when Jia Yan looked at the scenery during the battle, he felt a little displeased with Naruo Heikyang. It turns out that this guy's fighting speed is due to attaching his true energy to his feet, which increases his speed. But not only does Shiba have to use his true energy, but his eyes are also filled with the feeling of true energy. This energy seems to be omnipotent, which made his eyesight also improve, and he kept dodging Ayaduo's powerful fists. But I don't know much about this level. I can't guess the outcome between them. Jia Yan took a look and saw that several places that Ruo Hachiang thought he couldn't avoid were actually avoided by this strong man. He suddenly no longer confident in his judgment. That's right, his strength may not be as strong as these two strong men. If it is so easy to judge their battle, wouldn't it be too fake? The battle between the two sides continued to unfold in full swing under the watchful eyes of a large number of spectators and players. As he slapped, Jia Yan's eyes seemed to freeze. For him, a battle between two powerful men who had never seen him before was like an extremely powerful blockbuster. Although Jia Yan thought that he would not necessarily lose if he faced them, but the establishment of based on his Azure defense and the long-term battle of the evolved beasts, Jia Yan cannot even compare the subtleties of the battle between these two beings. So now he was fascinated by it and couldn't stop watching it. However, there seemed to be some restrictions on the use of true energy. When the battle came to about 10 minutes, after Natuo Duo's punch, there was no trace of golden light. This is the time, Ruo Heiqiang on the other side seized the opportunity at this moment. As for Duo, there was a trace of shock in his arm because he no longer had the protection of his true energy, and he was temporarily unable to raise his hand. He exerted force under his legs. Boom! Ruo Heiqiang flew to the front of Duo's head in one fell swoop, and the metallic luster suddenly flashed on the claws on the front of one arm. He had to aim at Duo's head and hit him hard. But before that, the Starry Sky midterm referee who had been waiting on the side had already jumped up suddenly when all the spectators were extremely excited, thinking that they could see the Starry Sky level powerhouse blood-staining the arena. His speed is actually faster than Ruo Heiqiang. Whoosh! This powerful referee came to Ruoha's side and instantly struck out his mantis foot. It was as if the foot of the broadsword had violently knocked away Ruoha's outstretched arm. Okay, Ruo Heiqiang, you have won. The referee's faint voice came out gently. It can be said that the rabbit has risen and the falcon has fallen. Ruo Heiqiang, who is extremely terrifying to everyone, actually has no possibility of resistance at this time. Thank you for your judgment. When Ruo Heiqiang saw the referee's move, he didn't show any fear at all, but said very respectfully. If Hachiang faced off against Duo, the two were already about equal in strength, so it wouldn't be a surprise for either of them to win. Jia Yan, who was watching from the sidelines, was so excited. Such a high-level battle was like a wonderful commentary for him. It happened that he also read some theoretical basis yesterday, and now combined with it, his wild way the forged combat ability improves as quickly as a rocket. Very good, these battles are like timely rain for me who have just understood some of the essence of battles. Now I am more sure of my shortcomings and the direction of future improvement. After Jia Yan watched the battle, he found Shuyuan and gained a lot. However, he was also surprised. That was that the strong Mantis who was the referee actually faced Ruo Heiqiang's missed attack. There are ways to stop it, and there are rumors from the outside world that this powerful referee has not yet reached the Starry Sky level. Even among such top mid-level experts, the gap is so huge. Jia Yan couldn't help but feel a little stunned by the huge difference between the Starry Sky levels. Okay, after a wonderful battle between the top midterm powerhouses, we once again face a battle between ordinary forces. But don't be disappointed, because this battle will be equally exciting. Just after the battle between the two midterm powerhouses, the host shouted out his words at the right time. No matter how hard he tried to cheer up, there was still a hint of boredom in his voice. After all, after watching such a wonderful battle, how could the next battle still arouse the interest of the audience, including him? Let's take a look. Oh, this battle is the battle between Angel Camp and Longxiao Martial Arena. It's Angel Camp's turn. Jia Yan in the audience was refreshed. Having accumulated so many battle ideas, he couldn't wait to test what he had in mind. Oh, we're finally here. That boy Jia Yan over there dares to be disrespectful to my little sweetie, Let's see if I don't blow him up. At the same time, a strong man on the other side looked at him with a look. Those who are aggressive look towards where Jia Yan is. Last year's August 10th was the moment when Giant Mosquito was released, and now, the new August 10th has arrived, a whole year ago, just because the update was interrupted for one day due to computer problems some time ago. 364 This never stops every night. Bulletin U is proud. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an Interstellar Giant Mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 575. Click here to read on mobile phone. The members of Longxiao Martial Arena are 5 powerful Starry Sky level. This force is slightly stronger than the return force that they encountered before. Tasting books. On Jia Yan's side, there are still the 5 Starry Sky level warriors from before, and even the silent Starry Sky warrior is still greatly reduced in combat effectiveness today due to yesterday's injuries. However, many people still think that this battle is interesting to watch. Because here in the Angel Camp, there is a strong man who almost became a legend after just one battle, Lord Jia Yan. This is an early being in the Starry Sky who doesn't look that powerful, but is actually far stronger than the average strong person imagines. Tap tap tap. The strong Mantis walked slowly across the ring. All the contestants below looked at the referee with respect. Some strong people have known about this existence before, and he is an extremely terrifying strong person in the early stage. Some strong people have got a glimpse of his strength through him easily stopping Ruo Haqiang's attack before. The power of this strong man is definitely not comparable to that of ordinary strong men. Okay, let's come to the stage for the first match. Both opponents he made a somewhat old voice. When he spoke, he didn't have a unique voice originally, but at this moment, there was a faint sense of oppression. It's up to you to do the first one. The four-eyed monster from the Angel Camp looked around and said to the pink monster. Okay, I won't give in easily today, the pink monster said calmly. Then he walked off the stage. Jia Yan. After the pink monster left, the four-eyed monster suddenly said something to Jia Yan. You must have thought that our strength was nothing more than this yesterday, right? But today I want to show you that we in the Angel Camp are not weak like you. Look at how powerful we are. The four-eyed monster said confidently. Okay, I believe you. Jia Yan looked at him and felt that this strong man was really confident, and he suddenly felt a little hopeful. Although he is confident in his own fighting power, it would be a waste of time if he had to deal with all the cats and dogs. The existence of these angel camps can help him a little, and it is also a big help to Jia Yan. I just hope they are strong enough. Just after thinking about this, Jia Yan only heard a loud and earth-shaking noise in the arena. A low, familiar scream was heard in Jia Yan's ears. In the first battle, Longxiao Martial Arena wins. The Mantis Monster referee's faint announcement reached Jia Yan's ears. The four-eyed monster who had just finished boasting with Jia Yan looked at the ring. The pink monster was knocked to the ground by his opponent and was trembling and unable to get up. He was embarrassed. Her strength is with us. She is the weakest and will not lose in the future. The four-eyed monster looked at Jia Yan with a guilty conscience. Jia Yan looked at the ring speechlessly. The second player was the scale monster. Today she finally showed off the power of her scales that Jia Yan had never seen before. Like the scales of a goddess scattering flowers, they spread towards the ring. Puff 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 puff. There were countless shots, and there were terrifying electric arcs in these scales, filling the entire area with sparkling lightning. After the scales erupted, the opponent in the Dragon Roar arena finally fell. My scales can only be used once a day. They will grow back tomorrow. A moment later, the scaly monster MS, dressed in pink and similar to the pink monster, stood next to Jia Yan. She actually died together with her opponent. Although that battle was considered a victory, for her, victory meant the same thing as dying together, because her scales were shining, which meant she basically lost her fighting ability. Looking at her, then at the pink monster who was chirping and groaning on the side, and then at the ring, because he was injured yesterday, and now he is facing a silent monster whose opponent is in danger, Jia Yan is really speechless. The forces you choose. Isn't it really too weak? Without any surprises, the silent monster was defeated again when facing the second player in the Dragon Roar arena. When he stepped back, Jia Yan found that this guy was even less talkative. Although his actual strength may be higher than the scale monster, the injury he suffered yesterday prevented him from exerting his full strength, so he had to suffer today. As the original second best expert in the Angel camp, after 2 consecutive days of fighting and losing streak, this being became even more silent. Oh no, he didn't speak at first. But how could Jia Yan faintly feel that there was a more obvious gloom in him? Now, Jia Yan has nothing to look forward to from the Angel camp's combat effectiveness. I'm going to fight. Jia Yan, don't worry, I will try my best to delay it. He said these words to Jia Yan before the four-eyed monster entered the field. Jia Yan couldn't help but fall to the ground. What about the explosion that was promised before? What about the one who promised to show his strength? He shook his head and understood that the Angel Battalion also had such strength. Jia Yan had a clear understanding of their strength. Otherwise, the media everywhere would be promoting it. As a small force, Angel Camp picked up a strong foreign aid like Jia Yan, which was like picking up a treasure. Ah! Look at my crazy eyes. The four-eyed monster in the ring didn't know if it was because of Jia Yan's distrustful eyes that he really broke into a fight. His strength was the highest in the original Angel Camp, but now he was weaker than the Dragon Roar Martial Arena. And he himself also used the most powerful combat power at this time. For these several reasons, he was able to suppress his opponent and beat him. Puff 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 puff. The four-eyed monster has ferocious fists. This monster originally looked wild and had a tall body. Now that it was suppressed and beaten, it had an extremely powerful aura spreading. Not long after, the opponent's monster staggered and fell down. Angel Camp wins. The Mantis referee made a ruling sound. Ha ha ha, the four-eyed monster cheered with joy. Don't be too proud. A third opponent immediately rushed to the stage in anger. This time, the strength of the two sides is not much different. The two sides are going back and forth, and the fight is very enjoyable. The leader's strength has not yet been fully unleashed. He has never taken any action since he came to this desolate starfield. He is just maintaining the operation of the Angel Camp. The scale monster did not have many injuries, but was dressed in pink sky color. Standing in front of Jia Rock's side. Jia Yan basically had no expectations for the four-eyed monster. This guy's current opponent is obviously a little weaker in energy, but he is still being beaten. Jia Yan, don't believe it? If the leader's strength breaks out, although it is impossible to defeat you, it is definitely possible to defeat 2 or 3 opponents. His famous boxing technique, angry and random punches, is extremely terrifying. Punch randomly in anger. Jia Yan almost squirted. This name is really quite personal. In the ring, as if in response to the scaly monster's words, the four-eyed monster suddenly became more energetic. Punch randomly in anger, a flash of blood suddenly appeared in his 4 eyes, as if he was extremely angry. Hit, 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 the four-eyed monster's fists were like lightning, striking at the opponent repeatedly. Here we are, the leader actually used his famous stunt. He punched randomly in anger. The scaly monster screamed, feeling very excited. Jia Yan looked at the battle at the observation tower and finally had the idea of stroking his forehead. No matter how you look at this angry and random punching, in his opinion, it is just a four-eyed monster that was hurt by the opponent and punched hard. Can this be considered a famous stunt? Jia Yan was no longer able to complain. Ah, hit, 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 the four-eyed monster on the stage was still attacking crazily. Jia Yan took a look and finally saw a little difference. It turned out that during the attack of this four-eyed monster, a faint yellow dark light flashed from his fist. Did you see it? The attack we led has a trace of the prototype of true power. It was this prototype that made him famous for a while when he was at the headquarters. Everyone thought he would be the angel camp. The headquarters was the first to master the true power in the early days of Starry Sky, but after waiting for more than 100 years, he is still like this, so the headquarters sent him here as an expatriate. The scaly monster seemed to be waiting for Jia Yan to discover the difference in the four-eyed monster. At this time, Jia Yan finally saw the difference in the other person, and then he explained. I see. No wonder this guy is beating him randomly, but the opponent still doesn't dare to fight and escapes. Jia Yan nodded. At this moment, his thoughts suddenly stopped thinking about the game, because using the four-eyed monster with some real abilities seemed to far surpass his opponent. After all, the original strength was not much different. Really powerful, what exactly is it? He began to think. I have seen this kind of energy just now, but for Jia Yan, it seems that I have been in contact with it in the past. The memory of Big Mosquito is very scary. At this moment, he recalled it crazily. Fragments were played back crazily, and Jia Yan kept retrieving the memories from the past in his heart, and then analyzed those memories. And in the end, a fragment buried deep in his heart was finally unearthed by Jia Yan. Huh? It's actually there. He was suddenly startled in his heart. After that, Jia Yan's mood became a little weird. It turned out that after digging, he finally found out where he had seen Lian-like power. That time period was exactly when he was returning to Earth from the gray-yellow star. The so-called Zerg strongman chased the Earth City fleet. After that, his body showed a terrifying energy. Really capable? At this moment, Jia Yan finally understood. The terrifying power that the Zerg strongman used at that time was actually the true power he saw now. The Zerg in the immortal arm really have a big background, thinking that the Zerg race actually possesses this starry sky, and the terrifying power it can possess. Jia Yan was a little surprised by the Zerg in the immortal arm. Fear. But things that are far away now are too far away. Jia Yan can't even return to the immortal arm himself, so let's get through the things in front of him first. Bang. When Jia Yan was distracted, a soft and crisp sound came from the stage. The enemy in Longxiao martial arena staggered back many steps, then shook his head and whispered, I surrender. This time, Angel Camp still wins. The Mantis referee made an announcement. Wow, the winner is actually the strong man from the Angel Camp. The strongest man in the Angel Camp before, he is indeed not an ordinary person. He is very powerful. Everyone in the audience, have you seen his strength? Very powerful. The host of the station was furiously heating up the atmosphere, but it seemed to have no effect. What? This guy's strength isn't that great at all, okay. He's just fighting randomly. What's the point of relying on a little bit of true power to win? He's not strong at all. There were also some strong men in the players' seats on the side of the court, and they made a loud noise at this moment. There was no way, their vision was spoiled by the previous battles between strong men. The victorious four-eyed monster also felt uncomfortable. His body had been hit twice by his opponent, and he was shaking even while standing. Can you still continue? Don't say I didn't remind you, even if you can still win, there will be a battle tomorrow. The Mantis referee came to the side of the four-eyed monster and reminded lightly. No, I told my subordinates that I will try to reduce the number of his opponents. Besides, my special ability is recovery speed. I will definitely be able to recover tomorrow. The four-eyed monster hesitated for a moment, then said firmly. The referee just gave a reminder and stopped talking at this time, directly announcing the start of the end of the game. This time the opponent is a strong rock giant-like guy, but this guy is stronger than the previous 3 opponents. The difference in strength is simply heaven and earth. After all, he has reached the 4th player of the superpower. This is the seed player. Even if his strength is the 4-eyed monster that has shown its true power, it is still impossible to defeat him. Poof! An arm knocked the 4-eyed monster away. Long Xiao wins the arena. The strong referee showed no mercy to the 4-eyed monster. Perhaps he felt that this guy didn't listen to his advice and was injured now and he didn't deserve sympathy. Jia Yan, I'm sorry, I can't bring you directly to the 5th strong man. The 4-eyed monster who retreated said apologetically as he passed by Jia Yan. This is beyond my expectation. You guys did a great job, Jia Yan responded to him. Leave it to me next. However, after the game is over, I have something to ask you, he said, entering the ring. What Jia Yan wants to ask the 4-eyed monster is naturally about true energy. For Jia Yan, this new term may even be closely related to his future strength. How could he not find a chance to learn about it? Fan. And there is a being in front of him who is familiar with this kind of thing, so if he doesn't make good use of it, how can he be worthy of his own heart that is ready to move? Jia Yan, right? We finally killed those losers and let you out. The rock monster on the other side, Jia Yan on the other side, said calmly. The monster's body was a full 50 meters away, standing up to block out the sun, looking at Jia Yan, as if he was really looking at a small insect. No more nonsense, let's fight. Jia Yan didn't take it seriously at all. He just looked at the existence behind the opponent who was infinitely close to the starry sky period and was also the Tongdian Shi of the information. Eyes with fighting intent. Interesting. Tongdian Shi stood proudly at the back, looking at Jia Yan's figure with a sense of interest. He originally wanted to teach Jia Yan a lesson, but he didn't expect that the other party would provoke him with his eyes first. How could this powerful flying man want to die so much? Looking at the Tonghua news agency? You look down on me like that, die. Boom boom boom. When the mountain monster saw Jia Yan, he just looked at Tongdian Shi behind him. Suddenly angry. You know, as the second in command of Longxiao Martial Arena, although his strength is inferior to Tongdian Shi, he has the confidence to pursue him in the future, and there is also a faint confrontation between his subordinates and Tongdian Shi there. For how could they not be angry when the powerful people who wanted to confront the Tongdian society were despised like this? The huge rock giant now struck Jia Yan with a mountain-like fist. Boom boom. Jia Yan showed his speed and jumped easily. Boom boom boom. This battle almost became a weakened replica of the previous 2 starry sky battles. Jia Yan's speed was almost unstoppable in front of the mountain giant, and the audience also thought that Jia Yan did not dare to attack. As long as he was brushed, he would be defeated. He will definitely lose. But Jia Yan's strength is really not much different from this rock monster. When everyone thought that the battle would become a protracted war. After the big mosquito picked up speed, he stabbed hard with his front feet, almost piercing the rock giant's head. The mountain giant's expression was horrified. He knew that Jia Yan's front legs were absolutely fierce, and he had even killed a strong heavenly dragon. You know, the heavenly dragon's defense against him was perfect. But he was still killed by Jia Yan. Fortunately, today's battle is just a game. A huge knife-shaped front foot blocked Jia Yan's front foot. The victory or defeat has been decided. The faint voice of the mantis referee gently reached the hearing organs of the two. Having already had a similar experience, Jia Yan was not surprised. His speed stopped and he jumped to the rear. The rock giant had just recovered from the crisis of life and death. At this time, he looked at Jia Yan with an expression of anger and a hint of fear. The winner of this match is Jia Yan from Angel Camp. The strong mantis made a sound. While the audience was noisy, the mantis referee inadvertently looked at his knife-shaped forefoot and was startled. It turned out that there was a small dent in the part of its knife-shaped forefoot that resisted Jia Yan's sharp forefoot. It's so sharp, he was slightly surprised. You must know that among so many players, only a handful of them could hurt him. He couldn't help but look deeply at Jia Yan. This strong referee finally had a serious attitude toward Jia Yan. Thanks for everyone's rewards. Reborn as an Interstellar Giant Mosquito author, Bulletin U. Chapter 576. Okay, next is the final battle between the strong men on both sides. It is also the fifth person versus the fifth person. Tongdi and Shi, come up. When the Mantis referee made this sound. High-speed full text first published, let's read together. Kaka. Over at the Longxiao Martial Arena, a powerful figure that had been motionless finally moved. Trash. See how I torture this Jia Yan, you are just my subordinate after all, he said calmly when passing by the rock monster. The opponent was so angry that he clenched his fists loudly. Boom, boom, boom. The Tong Tong Telecommunications Corporation came to power. Jia Yan looked at the other party. Tongdi and Shi was a terrifying existence that could be easily seen by looking at it. This existence might also be full of danger for Jia Yan. In fact, when Jia Yan came to this starry sky, he discovered that his strength here could not be defeated by the explosion of strength or momentum like in Yingxian's arms. This place is the cradle of the strong. If he doesn't have the slightest fighting ability, Jia Yan will lose with his life. Fortunately, his adaptability has always been good. Are you Jia Yan? The guy who bullied Tian Tian just now, Tong Dianxia used his body of nearly 50 meters to look at Jia Yan, who was crouching below. Jia Yan looked up at this guy, feeling a little surprised. He knew that although he could not appreciate the beautiful reporter named Tian Tian, he could not resist the beauty of many creatures in this starry sky. But this Tonghua news agency has really gone too far, right? The body size difference between him and Tian Tian is more than 10 times, how can they still fall in love with each other? Will this help the other party get ahead? It seems that Jia Yan still doesn't understand the culture of this starry sky. Although he was thinking this in his heart, Jia Yan did not retreat or doubt at all. Just now, he felt that Tian Tian was a little hostile to him, but he did not expect that she could really make his opponent, against him. He also became hostile. It seems like the other party will never hold back. But does Jia Yan need to be afraid? Although I don't know what the monster called sweet or sour said to you, anyway, you have to fight, so just fight. Jia Yan said calmly. You dare to insult my Tian Tian, you die. Tong Dianxia was filled with rage and charged towards Jia Yan. Although this was a silly star chaser, Jia Yan suddenly felt a sense of power when he saw his speed. Although this guy is huge, his speed is not slow at all, and is even a bit faster than the speed starry sky level powerhouse he encountered before. But it doesn't look like he's really capable. Thinking about it, it is true that according to the introduction of the scale monster, it is an extremely rare thing that cannot be owned by every strong person at the junior peak. Boom boom boom. Continuous attacks were released through the sharp claws of Tong Dianxia. His main attack weapon is the sharp claws on his two front feet. Jia Yan can even analyze that the claws are probably as sharp as his front feet. You must know that Jia Yan has always been absolutely confident in his front foot. Coming to this conclusion, he was shocked. Clang! Jia Yan unbelievingly stretched out his front foot and collided directly with the fierce claws of the opponent. Both sides were shocked at this moment. The collision between the front feet is not fancy at all, but only a comparison of physical strength. Bang! There was a faint crackling sound in the sky. At this moment, countless viewers directly covered their ears. After all, the front feet of Big Mosquito and Tong Dianxia are incredibly tight. It is simply terrifying to hit each other with great force at this time. Good guy, you are so strong, Tong Dianxia showed a surprised expression. This guy watched Jia Yan's battle yesterday and thought that the big Mosquito was just that powerful. However, the combat ability used by the opponent now definitely exceeded yesterday's, and there was a faint feeling that it was different from yesterday. As for Jia Yan, through this collision, he suddenly felt happy in his heart. In this collision, he used the fighting skills he had learned last night. In fact, the power he used now was no different from when he fought the tentacle monster yesterday. The opponent is Tongdensha, which is more powerful than the tentacle monster. Just one night of thinking about it, it actually has this effect. I'm still not familiar with this. If I were familiar with it, my combat power would definitely be stronger at this moment. Jia Yan thought excitedly in his heart. Yes, in this attack just now, he only used the same power as when fighting the tentacle monster yesterday, but in it, he used some of the fighting skills he learned last night with some difficulty. And this fighting skill is the reason why he can use this little energy to directly tie the Tongdian society with one blow. Yes, this attack not only boosted my confidence. I also gained a deeper understanding of those techniques. Jia Yan thought with some surprise. In fact, the results of this test were not surprising. Jia Yan used to rely on instinct to fight. Even if he learned some fighting skills from Yingxian arm, the fighting skills here can be said to have risen to the level of art. In this way he is like a blank piece of paper. Once he scribbles on it, his progress will definitely be rapid. Good boy, come again. Tongdian News Agency was also a little surprised by Jia Yan's strength, and immediately treated him calmly. There was a hint of sudden fighting skills in his attacks. His fighting skills were recorded in the book I read yesterday. It can be said that all roads lead to one. Jia Yan saw the opponent's fighting skills and immediately saw a clue. Looking back now, many of the players I saw in this arena used a lot of fighting skills when fighting. This is a kind of aftertaste and learning for Jia Yan. Before, I didn't even have any basic fighting skills. I just relied on instinct and previous experience to fight. Being able to defeat so many starry sky levels is already strong enough. There was a sparkle in Jia Yanfu's eyes, and this kind of combat experience quickly turned into actual combat effects in his heart. Call. Tongdian Shi attacked fiercely from a strange angle with its claws. At this moment, Jia Yan suddenly felt a hint of horror in his heart. The opponent's tactical ability was much higher than hers. In the past, if Jia Yan wanted to avoid such a move at a weird angle, he had to rely on his instincts and quickly convert his instincts in his brain to figure out how to avoid them. But this time, Jia Yan only had a hint of fear in his heart. Then he tried hard to remember that there was such a cracking method in the last chapter he read yesterday. Whoops! Jia Yan only felt his body rushing to one side quickly and fiercely. This was a smooth move. Jia Yan had never felt that it would be so easy to avoid an attack from an opponent of similar strength. Now, Jia Yan became more confident and interested in fighting those articles. I'm not familiar with it yet. If I am familiar with it, my combat ability. Thinking of this, Jia Yan really regretted that he had not come into contact with the combat teaching materials in the star field earlier. But what he didn't know was that although these books were not valuable things, it was extremely difficult for an average strong person to collect truly valuable ones. Moreover, the scale monster had also seen Jia Yan's battles and felt that realizing that he was lacking in certain aspects, he carefully selected the ones that were handed over to him, which can be said to be extremely efficient. How is it possible? Your strength seems to have improved compared to yesterday. Natong Telecom looked at Jia Yan in surprise. As a star-level expert, he could see the difference in Jia Yan's movements at a glance. Or are you hiding your strength yesterday? He was truly surprised. But now that he is in battle, Jia Yan will not respond, and has no reason to respond. If the opponent doesn't attack, Jia Yan attacks directly. The thrust needs more variety. Jia Yan stabbed forward with his front foot, and when attacking, there was a slight change in the initial attack route. Puff. Tang Dianxi was obviously a little unsure about this move and was not sure where Jia Yan wanted to attack. At this time, a mistake in avoidance immediately exposed his side. Opportunity, Jia Yan was pleasantly surprised and immediately attacked there. But before that, a terrifying lightning-like shadow suddenly appeared in front of me. Jia Yan was shocked and quickly blocked the attacking front foot. The two sides fought against each other and were evenly matched. With the help of the counter-shock force, the two retreated toward the rear together. Jia Yan looked at the figure of the other party, and the other party's Tonghua news agency also looked at Jia Yan with some fear. It turned out that what blocked Jia Yan's attack was an extra foot attached to the front of his body. Jia Yan never expected that this foot would be able to stretch out when he got close, and almost hit him. As expected, you should not underestimate a creature you have never seen before. The opponent's physiological structure and body's fighting style need to be paid attention to. Jia Yan's eyes were very cautious and solemn. You know, once you get injured, you lose. The referee doesn't care whether Jia Yan has a blue defense or not. Tongdian news agency also looked at Jia Yan warily. If he hadn't had close defense methods before, he might have lost. He couldn't guess what Jia Yan's true strength was. He never thought that Jia Yan, who seemed to be nothing special when he was watching from the court yesterday, would actually become his strong rival today. This was simply unbelievable. What do you mean about Jia Yan fighting Tian Long? I fought against Tian Chen before, and that guy couldn't beat me. But this Jia Yan seemed to be barely able to fight Tian Chen at a draw at that time, and now he can even fight with me? Tongdian news agency couldn't figure out whether it was the big Mosquito hiding his strength, or whether he had made so much progress in a short period of time. If it was the latter, it would be terrible. Whatever, the final winner of this battle must be me. I can't break the promise I made with Tian Tian. Tang Dianxi was filled with power when he thought of Tian Tian. Jia Yan, die. This strong man regarded Jia Yan as an equal opponent. He did not want his promise to Tian Tian to be invalidated, so he attacked extremely fiercely. Jia Yan twisted his body and dodged to one side based on his own experience and the methods taught in those tactical books. Then his speed suddenly increased. The front foot strikes the opponent's exposed abdomen. But without the slightest surprise, the guy struck out again with his shrunken feet, blocking Jia Yan's attack. Jia Yan took a few steps back. He was slightly solemn. After all, this guy's defense was really terrible. When Jia Yan's attack hit him, he had his shrunken feet to defend himself, and the speed and power of these feet were even better than those of Tang Dianxi. The rest of the feet must be more powerful. But my practical strength now is only at the same level as when I used to deal with the tentacle monster yesterday. In addition to using some tactical moves, the strength I retained yesterday is still retained today. If I use full speed, I may be able to defeat in one blow him. But Jia Yanfu looked at Tang Dianxi with gleaming eyes. This guy was not impossible for Jia Yan to cross two mountains, but Jia Yan didn't want to expose more of his strength. If his strength continues to explode, there will be fewer trump cards in the future. Jia Yan always remembers that this is just a game, and his true strength must be reserved for future life and death moments. Otherwise, what you have to do can be said to be a narrow escape from death, but if everything is exposed, it will be a narrow escape. Reserve your strength. Even if you lose, you can only use 80% of your strength at most. What Jia Yan is currently using is almost 70% of his strength, and he has faintly increased his strength to about 75%. The attack speed suddenly increased. Don't underestimate half of your strength. In a battle between strong men, this little difference can mean the difference between victory and defeat. He actually has hidden strength. This guy is really unfathomable. Tang Dianxi suddenly panicked when he saw Jia Yan's increased speed and attack power again. The host on the stage also made a sound of astonishment. As a starry sky-level creature, although he did not have the terrifying strength of the Mantis referee, he still had a lot of knowledge about Starry Sky level powerhouses. Oh. Player Jia Yan actually broke out again. This Angel Camp foreign aide who rounded up all the opponent's players yesterday, doesn't he have a bottom line of strength? Facing an extremely powerful being who is infinitely close to the midterm star, it's really unfathomable to use the strength of a stronger person again. Could it be that we all don't know that this player is actually a midterm star player? The strong referee was looking at the battle situation with a bit of astonishment. He personally tested Jia Yan's strength yesterday when he helped the tentacle monster resist. He knew that Jia Yan had hidden part of his strength, but today it seems that there is a lot of hidden strength. And no matter how he looked at it, Jia Yan's actions seemed a little more reasonable than yesterday. This was what surprised him the most. The strength of a strong man was slowly cultivated over a long period of time. This guy's movements suddenly changed to match the feeling of combat. He really didn't know how to explain it. Death, death, death. At this moment, Tang Dianxi somewhat forgot that this was an arena battle, and launched his attacks hard at Jia Yan. He knew that his strength was inferior to the strong players in the midterm of Starry Sky, especially for those super strong men. It was nothing, but he who claimed to be able to defeat weak and mid-level strong men was actually suppressed and beaten by a strong man of the same level at this moment, and he suddenly became furious. In front of so many spectators and strong men, he, who was originally recognized as a super early stage strong man, was now in great disgrace. Boom boom boom. Attacks hit the ground one after another, and Jia Yan's rolling figure seemed to be dodging awkwardly on the ground. But some people with eyes, regarding Jia Yan's disadvantage, felt that Tongdong Telecom was about to end. Because this guy's attack has begun to go out of shape, Jia Yan is like a hungry wolf waiting for his prey to lose energy. As soon as the opponent's struggle stops, he will directly pounce on him. Tear each other to pieces. As expected, although Tang Dianxi's combat strength was extremely strong, he was after all an ordinary early-stage Starry Sky warrior. After using huge energy to bombard him, but with no results after dozens of hits, his combat energy was reduced. This is the time, Jia Yan seized the opportunity and used his front foot to attack the opponent's head fiercely. However, the expected huge front legs of the mantis did not appear. Instead, a shadow as fast as lightning fiercely resisted Jia Yan's front legs that were attacking. After a loud noise, Jia Yan's body stumbled backwards. I will not be defeated by you so easily. Tang Dianxi's face became ferocious, and his eyes looking at Jia Yan were filled with crazy fighting intent. Another well-dodged foot appeared on his chest and abdomen. This foot had been hidden inside his body before. It might even be his trump card, but now in order to fight against Jia Yan, he used it directly. Don't give up yet. Jia Yan missed a hit and was getting a little angry at this moment. His body suddenly moved and he directly attacked Tang Dianxi. With two hidden legs to resist close attacks, Tang Dianxi's defensive capabilities suddenly improved greatly. At this moment, Jia Yan, no matter whether it was a close attack or a long-range attack, was unable to defeat the opponent in a moment. Defense breached. At a certain moment, Jia Yan suddenly rushed near the opponent's body, then suddenly approached and stabbed his body with his front feet. Let's do this again. Tang Dianxi shouted, and then a hidden foot stabbed out fiercely. Jia Yan has attacked like this several times before. This guy has long been familiar with the big Mosquito's close combat routine. No matter how Jia Yan changes his moves, as long as his two hidden feet resist the body and below, he will be able to do it. Can neutralize the attack situation of big Mosquitoes. And this time, he also prepared another strategy, that is, after resisting, he would use his forefoot, which had been prepared for a long time, to directly counter-attack Jia Yan, although he knew that the possibility of defeating Jia Yan was already there. Extremely low. But he had to do it. However, Jia Yan's attack is also different this time. Clang. When Tang Dianxi blocked Jia Yan's attack, and then wanted to prepare his front foot for counterattack, he attacked Jia Yan directly. Puff. A black shadow struck like lightning. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 577. Facing the stabbing shadow, Tang Dianxi looked shocked, but had no time to fight back. Puff. This time, it was also a huge front foot that looked like a door panel, blocking Jia Yan. However, the front foot was a little late, and it only blocked a little bit of the black shadow. Then the black shadow shot out by electricity directly past the side of Tang Dianxi's body and shot into the air. Huh, the referee monster's voice sounded next to Jia Yan. Jia Yan was not surprised by his appearance. However, he was surprised that his blow was almost not blocked by the mantis referee. This obviously shocked Jia Yan himself. He directly received the black shadow that was shot back. Upon closer inspection, it turns out that the black shadow is actually the needle shot from his mouth part. It turned out that after Jia Yan read the textbooks and information given by the scale monster, he analyzed the contents of the textbooks and concluded that a strong person should use his combat weapons to the limit. As for Jia Yan, in the past, the usage rate of the mouth needle was too low. He wanted to develop this weapon before, but due to various problems, it was abandoned in the end. But now it seems like I'm enlightened after using it once, and the effect is actually good. You're doing a good job. The mantis referee, who had barely protected Tongdian Club, said this to Jia Yan for the first time. In this battle, Jia Yan wins. Angel Camp vs Longxiao Martial Arena, Angel Camp wins. The mantis referee announced loudly. Wow! The entire conference was once again noisy. Countless spectators changed their initial listless appearance and spoke highly of the previous battle. After all, a battle between the early-stage powerhouses in the starry sky actually showed the splendor of some midterm powerhouses. How could this not surprise them? Master Jia Yan, we will always support you. Some viewers who had enjoyed watching the show even changed their views on Jia Yan and directly shouted out their support for Jia Yan. Jia Yan, you did a great job. We won again with you. When Jia Yan got off the stage, the first one to greet him was the scaly monster, and she was also full of surprises at Jia Yan's performance today. She was even a little embarrassed. Yesterday she was so smart that she gave those teaching materials to Jia Yan, and today Jia Yan responded by using some advanced techniques. She didn't think Jia Yan could learn so much in one night, but he was show it to yourself and let her see that Jia Yan is not who she imagined and doesn't know many skills at all. Now that I think about the scaly monster, Jia Yan must have been hiding his strength before. I should thank you. The teaching materials you gave are great. Jia Yan was a little less indifferent to him. Jia Yan was really expressing his gratitude, but the other party thought that Jia Yan was showing his gentlemanly demeanor, and both parties would have misunderstood. Okay, Jia Yan, we have won another battle. I will continue to rely on you for tomorrow's battle. The four-eyed monster came forward and expressed his sincere gratitude to Jia Yan. Previously, he might have been a little bit indifferent to the fact that Jia Yan was more popular than him, but after seeing the gap between the two sides, the strong leader, there is no longer any intention to compare Jia Yan's strength. After all, they are not on the same level at all. Even if he could burst into real power, he still wouldn't be able to defeat Jia Yan, the early-stage superpower who had won consecutive victories. Boss, let's go over and talk. Jia Yan hesitated, then couldn't help but invited him to walk aside. You want me to tell you something about Zhen Nang? This. When they reached the deserted side of the players' bench, Jia Yan's words made the four-eyed monster hesitate for a while. You must know that some things between strong people cannot be asked, especially things related to cultivation, some of which involve the core secrets of a strong person. It's not that Jia Yan didn't understand this, but it was related to his future and he had to ask. If you just want to know about true energy, I can talk to you, but I won't tell you anything that involves my secrets or the secret skills of my angel camp. If possible, I will tell you. For the eyed monster hesitated for a long time before saying, "Absolutely, thank you." Jia Yan couldn't help but be overjoyed. Afterwards, the four-eyed monster began to teach Jia Yan on the sidelines. Although he is said to be a professor, in fact, leaving aside those related secrets, they are actually some theoretical things. However, these things are also some rare and valuable knowledge for Jia Yan, who has weak basic knowledge. The four-eyed monster seemed to be a perfect mentor. Jia Yan would often ask some very basic questions, but he didn't have the slightest suspicion or anything, even though Jia Yan was deliberately concealing the relationship. In addition, he himself has a deep-rooted impression that Jia Yan is an extremely strong man. In this way, even if Jia Yan says something that is not consistent with the speech of a strong man, he himself will think of it as Jia Yan in his mind. He was testing him, or for some other reason, rather than thinking that Jia Yan really didn't understand this knowledge. Originally, Jia Yan wanted to mention the study matter to the opponent after today's game was over, but he really couldn't wait to ask anything else at night. After all, his learning efficiency is extremely high. If you ask him what he learned now, he might gain something by the evening. That's really what it is, at least that's how I understand it. Maybe for people with advanced levels, their feelings will be different from mine. The four-eyed monster said a lot in one breath. He also had some understanding of the big mosquito. Although this guy is powerful, anyone with a discerning eye can see that his fighting relies heavily on instinct, and it is even less possible to master true power. So when the other party asked this question, he obviously wanted to know the relevant knowledge about Zhenneng. But he didn't think that just by saying a few words, Jia Yan could get some insights. After all, there were so many strong people who could not step into the realm of true power in their lifetime. If Jia Yan could easily step into this realm, wouldn't he defeat all of them? Does he have the face of a strong man? After listening to his explanation, Jia Yan knelt down directly, as if he had entered a state of trance. The four-eyed monster left uninterested and didn't bother him anymore. He had no expectations of what Jia Yan could gain, and seeing how the other party wanted to meditate, it was hard to offend him, so he had to leave. Jia Yan was deep in thought. I see, the system of true energy is not different from the system of brainwave power, but is closely related, Jia Yan thought. The battle in the ring is still going on. Jia Yan no longer has the desire to wait and see as these opponents fight here one by one, but falls into thinking. For Big Mosquito, he uses instinct every time he fights. Even during the period of Gray-Yellow Star, he had come into contact with the combat materials from the Immortal Arm, but compared to the combat system here, it was definitely lagging behind. Half a point. This is why when Big Mosquito was in this starry sky, he discovered that the strong men here were much stronger than the Immortal Arms. For Jia Yan, it was as if he had entered another world. He was like a sponge, desperately absorbing the knowledge here. Just like when he was in Tianlong Star, although Jia Yan had no tactics to learn in name, he actually learned a lot through some materials. The study last night was not so much the rapid progress of Big Mosquito as it was his accumulation. After all, everything here was so strange to him. After studying here for so long, last night's arrangement formed a pattern in his head. This directly caused the Big Mosquito to make sufficient progress. It's the same now. It is said that he has never come into contact with Zhenneng, but in fact, Zhenneng is closely related to all starry sky level powerhouses. In this starry sky, Jia Yan can be said to be an outsider, but the more he is like this, the more he can be regarded as an outsider. Look at the combat system and knowledge here. The same is true for Zhenneng. The strong men here have always been troubled by the fact that Zhenneng's system is different from the energy they have mastered before. Jia Yan, who originally relied on instinct to eat, is now able to accept new things directly. After breaking away from some things and seeing the essence, Jia Yan discovered that true ability is actually closely related to the knowledge that strong people have mastered before. It turns out that the energy conversion of the true energy system does not operate according to the brainwave power. It is a flexible way of escape. Jia Yan analyzed slowly. The real energy is indeed powerful. After analysis by Jia Yan, an outsider, it is known that the energy it can burst out is more than double that of a strong person with the power of Xiangguo. But a strong person who has not mastered the brainwave power system cannot master true energy, because true energy is a further level of brainwave power. Jia Yan finally understood that almost all the strong people in the galaxy here have brainwave power. Strong reason. Because the strong people here want to go further, they can only master the power of brain waves. Those strong people without brainwave power will become marginalized over time. But Jia Yan doesn't care about the trivial things. He is just studying the possibility of stepping into the realm of true energy. My system is actually subtly different from the brainwave power system here. After all, I am a strong person belonging to the immortal arm. If I want to go further here, it must be different from their so-called cultivation method. Jia Yan knew that although the powerful people in this galaxy looked very similar to the powerful methods in the immortal arm, the slight differences determined that Jia Yan's path to power was somewhat different from theirs. Although the Starry Sky Warriors are also on the path of Huan Xing, Jia Yan and them can use completely different methods. I have jumped out of their thinking, but the unity of the universe, some theories and roads, I cannot let go, just like true energy. If I want to continue to be strong, I must find my way to true energy. Jia Yan spent a long time in contemplation. The game in the ring is over. Huh? The game is over. When Jia Yan came back to his senses, he noticed the changes on the ring. Let's go, we have been waiting for you for a long time. The strong men of the angel camp on the side are still waiting for Jia Yan. I kept you waiting. Jia Yan looked around. There are still many people here who are practicing for future battles, but it is not a good thing to improvise. They are not like Jia Yan who looks at the cultivation methods here through other systems. Without that kind of vision, they are bound to the pace of progress, will be trapped in a strange circle of cognitive obstacles, and the progress will not be faster. At this moment, some media are also interviewing. Miss Tian Tian, that's the angel camp. They actually won today. Let's go over and interview them, right? No. No, haha. Mr. Jia Yan from the angel camp fought for 2 days in a row. Other players are also injured. Let's not disturb them. The filming team during the interview made similar remarks. The beautiful reporter Miss Tian Tian looked at Jia Yan in the distance with fear in her heart. She could not have imagined that Jia Yan, a strong man, could actually defeat her suitor, Tongdian Shi. You must know that Tongdian Shi was known as the strongest group in the early days of Starry Sky. This Jia Yan can defeat even Tongdian Shi, and his strength is definitely at the level of the weaker Starry Sky. She does not dare to continue to provoke this kind of existence. Fortunately, they didn't have any major issues to begin with. Jia Yan has even forgotten her night among the Totans. In fact, the scenery at night is not bad at artificial creations, but compared to some of the miraculous craftsmanship of nature, it is a bit lacking. Really powerful, energy that can defeat reality. Jia Yan, crouching in the player's residence, has made some progress in his conception and understanding of true energy. He knew that his path to understanding energy had been ongoing from the beginning. Because he started on a wild path of self-exploration. In fact, if he took the path he took and talked about it with the strong people in this starry sky, others would be stunned. Except for the guidance of Daphne, Jia Yan can be said to be all on his own. Exploring to this point, his entire progress can be used as a textbook for a strong man to write a powerful book. But what is now in front of Jia Yan is a hurdle that is even more difficult to overcome. After passing this hurdle, Jia Yan can become stronger without mutating again. If he does not pass it, Jia Yan will even become stronger. I suspect that even if I mutate, I may still not be able to reach the level of the top 10 strong men. Because Zhenneng is an inescapable gate. This gate leads to the path of super strong people, and even the path of becoming a star. Jia Yan didn't realize that he was just slightly different from other strong people. I can find a different path to becoming a star on my own. True power, he is an evolved version of brainwave power. Without brainwave power, it is impossible to achieve true power, and a mature brainwave power system seems to make thinking rigid. Jia Yan's analytical ability is quite good. At least in one night, he analyzed the fundamental reason why many powerful people in this star field are unable to achieve true power. But this is not of much help to him in achieving true power, because he himself is not a strong person here, and the brainwave power he cultivates is different from that here. Even if he knows the flaws here, he cannot make any breakthroughs. After thinking for a long time, Jia Yan came to the room of the four-eyed monster. Who? The perception of the strong men in the starry sky is very powerful. For them, the approach of the strong man is a top priority. Jia Yan's arrival directly aroused the vigilance of the strong men in the sect. Jia Yan, what's wrong so late? He opened the door and saw Jia Yan, looking vaguely strange. I would like to ask you to use your true fighting power on me. It only takes a little bit. With your repair speed, you will be able to repair this lost energy before the battle tomorrow, Jia Yan said to him. The four-eyed monster was silent for a moment. He really didn't believe that Jia Yan could master the essence of Zhenneng in such a short period of time. However, this strong man is their huge fighting power now. If he is not taken care of well, for him, he will be unqualified as a leader. Okay, let's go to the player battle room in front and show it off, but it's not strong enough there. I can only show you a little bit of my strength. It's up to you how much you can understand. Seeing that the four-eyed monster agreed, Jia Yan immediately thanked him from the bottom of his heart. Thank you very much. Afterwards, in the contestant battle room, a series of exercises were carried out that were huge but did not damage the building as much as possible. Boom 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 boom. The sound of fighting lasted for a long time. The sky gradually becomes brighter. Welcome to today's match day. Before you know it, the second half of the match is approaching. The top 20 teams will be decided today. Presumably, the top 20 teams all have mid-level starry sky experts. Power, right? But anything can happen on the battlefield. For example, the Angel Camp power, they have Lord Jia Yan who can be as strong as the starry sky, and there is another power of Hongwu Guan. All of them are good players. Viewers, don't go away, today's battle will be even more exciting. The commentator is still working hard to improve the atmosphere of the scene, but the atmosphere of the scene is enough without him improving it. The collection quota conference is still so lively. For all the viewers, the later the game gets, the more powerful people in the midterm starry sky fight. You must know that in this barren galaxy, the mid-level powerful people are the real big shots. Some of them are the leaders of medium-sized forces, and some are high-level leaders of large-scale forces. Most of them are high-end beings that ordinary audiences cannot see or touch. But now these beings were fighting directly in front of ordinary beings. This strange feeling of exhilaration did not require the host's heckles. He himself was happy enough. Jia Yan, listen, the host talked about us again. For 5 days in a row, our Angel Camp has not lost a single match. I think those forces will have a headache when they see us. The scale monster clung to Jia Yan and said softly. Jia Yan tried his best to stay away from him. Yes, this is already the 5th day of the Gathering Conference, and Jia Yan has also been fighting for the Angel Camp for 5 days. Except for the first 2 days, Jia Yan's next 3 days were almost not difficult. Almost the strongest person he encountered was almost the same as the tentacle monster before. After all, There are only so many forces participating in this conference, and by default, high-level starry sky levels are impossible to participate. Even those mid-level experts who are infinitely close to high level, such as the Mantis Judge, will not participate. This kind of game. Therefore, under Jia Yan's control, the Angel Camp was so powerful that it came to where it is today without encountering any decent resistance. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 578. Not to mention the forces of the losers, the Angel Camp, a completely victorious team, will compete for the top 20 spots in the conference today. As for the teams that enter the top 20, even if they don't win another battle in the future, they are destined to get the basic 100 collection quotas. As a force with basic quotas, the Angel Camp has already obtained the basic 10 quotas. Therefore, whether it is Jia Yan or the Angel Camp, it does not matter whether they win or lose the battle in the future, so the pressure is greatly reduced. Maybe I will be tortured next. Jia Yan thought. More than half of the teams competing for the top 20 have mid-level experts in the starry sky, and among the top 20 teams, there have only been 2 teams without mid-level experts in history. No matter how confident Jia Yan is, he doesn't think he can defeat a slightly stronger mid-level expert if he doesn't plan to use his full strength. However, Jia Yan still wants to see where the bottom line of his 8th level strength is. After all, this is also valuable experience. He who is destined to fight life and death with the strong men in this starry sky in the future can get a glimpse of the strength of these strong men in advance. Okay, the players have entered the competition field. Now let us see who will be among the top 20 forces today. Can the Dark Horse forces such as the Angel Force be among the top 20? The handicap has been opened. Here are the bets on the top 20 forces, and here are the bets on the Dark Horse forces. Come and take a look. The hubbub between the host and the handicap betting on the sidelines made Jia Yan and several strong men from the Angel Force continue to be the center of attention. The strong men here are even more familiar with Jia Yan and the 4 strong men from the Angel Camp than the opponents they should be paying attention to. After all, the media everywhere these days are analyzing how far they can go despite their weak strength. It's strange that they are not familiar with it. Jia Yan, right? If you meet us later, be careful. You guys from the Angel Camp, you have gotten this far with only 1 foreign aid. You are lucky enough. If you encounter us later, we will not let your good luck continue. All the forces in the past either directly laughed at Jia Yan and others, or looked at them coldly. After all, this force is really an eyesore. Other Dark Horse forces either had some reputation before, or relied on their own strength, but this Angel Camp only relied on good luck to have a powerful foreign aid like Jia Yan come to its door, and it gained its current fame. How could they possibly feel comfortable watching it? Don't worry about them. If it is a powerful force later, we will try our hand. If we lose, we will lose. Anyway, there are basic quotas, so we can collect it anyway. The 4-eyed monster said to the angry pink monster and scale monster. Jia Yan just looked at the sarcastic creatures around him with cold eyes. He didn't take their words to heart. In fact, those who mocked them were only a few. For Jia Yan, the real opponents were those strong men who kept their composure and did not even look at their Angel Camp. Because no matter how famous you are, strength is strength. The strong men of this kind of force are basically the middle-level strong men in the starry sky. Such strong men look at the Angel Camp as if it were a joke. Not long after, the battle list for the competition was distributed. The expression of the 4-eyed monster immediately changed. Our good luck seems to have ended here, he smiled wryly. Jia Yan saw the match list. There was also a little bit of consternation because of their opponents. Astonishingly, it was the most powerful team in this tournament, an existence called Team Jirji. This team is also familiar to the creatures in the starry sky. They are very active in the starry sky, and because they have two strong men who may reach the high level of the starry sky, the future of this force is very promising. Do the two-star midterm referees admit that they are powerful people? When Jia Yan saw this data, he felt depressed for a while. This kind of existence, for him now, is basically impossible to defeat if he does not unlock his strength and display his blue defense. It is impossible for Jia Yan to unlock all his combat abilities in such a combat situation. So we can only lose. Okay, don't be so discouraged. It's just a loss. In the next battle, just win 2 more. The four-eyed monster comforts the others. In fact, reaching this point has already exceeded their imagination. They don't care whether they win or lose. The first battle begins. The battle on the field began, but the battle of the defeated group started first. As for the battle to determine the top 20, it was naturally the finale. After Jia Yan looked at the battle on the ring, he stopped watching. He was immersed in his own world. In fact, he was like this most of the time these days. For Jia Yan, his combat strength has actually only improved to a limited extent in the past few days, because he has been completely immersed in the idea of true power. The more he learns about true energy, the more he realizes how powerful the powerful seniors are in the galaxy here. How long and how many powerful people have to be pioneers can they develop such a powerful promotion method? The real energy even vaguely corresponds to the gravitational waves I have experienced, and it is also somewhat related to the space that the previous aircraft traveled through. I have experienced both of these feelings, and I can even describe them now. Jia Yan gradually analyzed and learned more and more about Zhenneng. This energy is a collection of many biological cultivation methods, and it even vaguely contains scientific theories. Therefore, it is an extremely difficult theoretical system for Jia Yan to enter. But cultivation is cultivation. If you must have scientific knowledge to practice well, then every strong person in this starry sky will be a scientist. But this is not the case. Jia Yan just gained some understanding after a series of understandings and after a little exploration. It's really powerful. I already roughly understand its principle. I'm just waiting for an opportunity to truly master it. Jia Yan smiled slightly in his heart. In the past 5 days, although his strength has improved, it is not too great, but in terms of theory and combat literacy, his progress has been great. Okay, the battle for the losers group is over. Next comes the competition for the top 20. It just so happened that the battle in the loser group ended, and Jia Yan just woke up. Jia Yan, the second battle of the battle is ours. Get ready, we are about to go on stage. The scale monster said to Jia Yan. Okay. Jia Yan regained his composure and carefully observed the first battle for the top 20. In the first battle of the battle, one side has the midterm star, and the other side does not. However, their strength is still very similar. The force that does not have a strong player in the midterm of the starry sky, the other players are extremely powerful, suppressing the force that has a strong person in the midterm of the starry sky. After that, the strong man of this force only paid the price of 2 people on his side, and when he was the third person, he faced the midterm strong man in the starry sky. And there was only one person left in the middle period of the starry sky. You have pissed me off, this mid-level starry sky powerhouse yelled in a furious voice. The battle continues. Jia Yan observed that this midterm starry sky powerhouse was not very strong, at least not a very strong midterm starry sky powerhouse. But after all, it was the midterm of starry sky, and it only took 5 moves to determine the winner against the third opponent who fought with all his strength. And Jia Yanzu saw the opponent's fighting method against this strong man. Not only him, but also some of the spectators on the sidelines could see it. Use the human C tactic over there. Sure enough, the midterm powerhouses in the starry sky can only be dealt with using this tactic. What kind of tactics are you going to do if you have the ability? This is for their other strong players to suppress the opponent. Otherwise, what team would have such strength? Having said that, the starry sky faced the next fourth opponent in the midterm. This opponent was even stronger than the previous one. This midterm star player had to use more than 30 moves to defeat the opponent with some effort. Fifth person versus fifth person, start. The Mantis referee let out a loud shout, and saw the last warrior who did not have the power of the midterm powerhouse in the starry sky, and the strongest one, immediately jumped onto the ring. Suffer death, he didn't waste time at all and launched a direct attack on the midterm powerhouse in the starry sky. Despicable, the midterm strongman wanted to take a rest during the battle, but he didn't expect that the opponent's attack would launch directly. He yelled and cursed, but the other party didn't care about this. His former teammates had not easily created such an advantageous situation, how could he let it go? Boom boom boom. This strong man is very powerful. Although he is obviously different from the strong men in the early stages of the starry sky, the opponent's strength has been somewhat depleted, while his strength is at its peak, so the attack progresses very quickly. The strength gap between the two sides was not that big to begin with, but as one went down and the other went down, this strong man was actually on a par with the midterm powerhouse in the starry sky. Boom 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 boom. The fighting between the two sides continued to spread throughout the venue. Just when Jia Yan made the judgment that this early stage powerhouse still couldn't win against the midterm powerhouse in the starry sky, the strong man in the early stage suddenly burst out with a burst of yellow light. This yellow light is something that Jia Yan is very familiar with and is studying with great concentration these days, really powerful. Jia Yan felt shocked in his heart. At this moment, he knew that this strong man in the early days of Starry Sky actually made a breakthrough in the battle and realized the true power that is extremely difficult to understand. For Jia Yan, this legendary thing happened before his eyes. It was a profound shock, but his thoughts were quickly attracted by the energy that had just burst out in the battle. What a prototype! This kind of energy is an extremely beneficial thing for those who have not yet mastered the true energy. After all, the true energy that has just been comprehended is the most basic. For the Starry Sky level powerhouses who already have some true comprehension, maybe it is that's the finishing touch. It will directly send the strong person observing into the gate of true energy. It's so soft. So the original form of Zhenneng was actually so soft? I have to change some of my previous ideas. Jia Yan looked at the prototype of the real power over there, and he was shocked and began to think. And the battle in the ring started to change directly because this early stage powerhouse understood the true power. Before realizing the true power, the two sides were tied, but after realizing it, the strength of this strong man actually suppressed the midterm Starry Sky strong man who consumed too much power. Bang! After a crisp sound, the midterm powerhouse was bombarded to the ground in disgrace. Okay, the battle is over, the winner is the Earth-Sea forces. The Mantis referee's voice sounded at the right time. The winning side cheered directly, while the losing side was in disbelief. Just a sudden realization of true power, and their side was defeated? This is really bad luck. Originally, they thought they would be very happy to face a force that did not have the midterm powerhouse in the Starry Sky, but in the end, they still failed. Okay, Jia Yan, do you have any insights? This is much more intuitive than what I demonstrated to you. The four-eyed monster's voice was now transmitted to Jia Yan's tentacled ears. I have learned a lot. Jia Yan smiled confidently at this time. In fact, he has not yet mastered the true power. After all, his energy is subtly different from the way the energy of the Starry Sky here operates. If he is a creature of this Starry Sky, he might take advantage of this energy to realize the true power now. But what he realized took a little time to transform. This will be slower. As long as you have some insights, we will end up in the end. The four-eyed monster also smiled. He has been practicing his true skills with Jia Yan every day these days, and Jia Yan often asks very profound questions, and even he has gained a lot from these questions. Look like. Through Jia Yan's daily training, he analyzed that it was not impossible for Jia Yan to realize his true power at any time. This also made the four-eyed monster extremely emotional. After all, he knew that Jia Yan really didn't even understand the basics of true energy before. But in just a few days, he met this strong man and solved all the basic problems from a basic question. To ask him, he became a person who understood a lot and could even give him guidance on certain issues, a person who understood the true power. What is genius? This is genius. The four-eyed monster felt that if this strong man really existed in his angel camp, he would surely make the several high-level old monsters in the base camp extremely valuable. Unfortunately, Jia Yan made it clear to him that he would not join any force in the starry sky, which made the four-eyed monster a little regretful. Okay, the previous battle was exciting, and it was actually a breakthrough on the battlefield, but when it comes to the next battle, we will definitely not be disappointed. That is the match between Team Jirji and Angel Camp. As we all know, Team Jirji is a legendary fighting team in our starry sky. They not only control a large territory, but also actively mediate the battles between the strong, and have dedicated their lives to the further development of this barren galaxy. Their light and heat. Although the Angel Camp was not famous in the past, in this gathering quota meeting, they shined brightly, especially the foreign aide Mr. Jia Yan. This strong man has performed well all the way. I don't know that now he is facing a powerful, the unparalleled Jirji team. What wonderful performance will he have? Jia Yan finally heard it. The hosts still had some temper towards their angel camp, or towards Jia Yan. At this time, facing such a powerful opponent, he actually said good things about their angel camp. This is simply called flattery. 5 people from each side came to the sidelines of the game. Let's discuss how to arrange the order of appearances, Jia Yan. I'll put you in 5th place. Do you think that's okay? The four-eyed monster looked at the powerful men across from him who seemed to be legendary beings even to him, and became a little solemn. Team Jirji is a legendary opponent. Angel Camp's defeat is absolute, but for them, it is impossible not to fight. After all, the previous battles have shown that even if they give up, Jia Yan will still fight on his own. Our team people give up, but foreign aid is fighting hard. This will only make the Angel Camp's reputation become bad. Okay. I'll be 5th. As promised in advance, I will try my best, Jia Yan said calmly. This puts a lot of pressure on the other strong men in the Angel Camp. Since you have said so, we have to do our best. It will definitely be interesting to fight against legendary powerhouses. We will try our best to eliminate 1 or 2 opponents when we hand it over to you to reduce your pressure. Right, the four-eyed monster said unconfidently. Yes, at the legendary level, it seems that the first person to appear is the existence of the early peak. This is a candidate they deliberately used to fight. Otherwise, their entire force would to make up for it. The midterm powerhouse of the first team. Thinking about fighting this kind of force head-on makes me a little excited. On the contrary, the pink monster looked a little eager to try. But considering her past record and performance, Jia Yan didn't have much hope. Then Pinky, you should be the first to appear. Try to consume the energy of this initial peak. The four-eyed monster made the arrangement. Contestants from both sides come on stage. The referee of this game is still the extremely powerful Mantis Warrior, but this time he is much more solemn, because the most powerful existence in the Jirji team can even pose a certain threat to him. The pink monster came on stage quickly. But she stepped down faster. When Jia Yan and other strong men expected her to consume as much of the opponent's energy as possible, they only heard a crisp pop sound coming from Lei Chao. The pink monster in their eyes flew up and landed directly in the Angel Camp player bench. You you. The four-eyed monster raised one arm and pointed at the pink monster. For a long time, he could only say one sentence, you came back so fast. The pink monster was not injured, otherwise the referee would have taken action. This opponent is very strong. I didn't even see his attack clearly. But if I am given a few more chances, I will defeat him, she said forcefully. Club suit, no pop-ups? At ++. The next contestant from Angel Camp, please come on stage. Before the pink monster could continue to brag, the referee on the ring said, come up. The four-eyed monster looked at the strong man from the bodyguard camp who didn't like to talk. The other party looked at his opponents on the field in silence and went on stage without saying anything. Puff. There was another crisp sound. In less than a second, he also flew back. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Maleprotagonist U. Chapter 579. The four-eyed monster finally became gloomy. He promised Jia Yan that he would at least try to kill one opponent. If this continues, he may not be able to kill even one opponent. In fact, such a result is too normal. You must know that their actual strength is just the bottom of the bottom. Facing a force that can win the championship, even if it is the second line of this force, it becomes a one-sided massacre. Normal things. You did a good job, don't be sad. Others couldn't see the mood of the silent monster, but the four-eyed monster could see it for some reason. He patted the other person and comforted him. The next person to take the stage is the scale monster. This time the Angel Camp's forces are arranged entirely based on strength. However, even if the scale monster is strong, it will not be much stronger than the silent monster. I must consume some of his strength. The scale monster did not say that she would win. Compared with the pink monster, who was confident but had no strength, her self-awareness was much higher. When she got on the stage, the opponent also attacked with one move. The scaly monster seemed to be on guard before that, only to see the soles of her feet move laterally. The monster's huge fist struck the air, making a sound that seemed to be deafening. Xiaolin doesn't necessarily lose, the four-eyed monster said solemnly as he watched the battle progress on the stage. Jia Yan also looked at the arena, and then shook his head. As a strong person who is stronger than the four-eyed monster, he knows that the current tie is just because the opponent has too little combat experience. If he shows his strength, maybe one or two moves will defeat the scale monster. He didn't realize that the scale monster was going to win, but he also knew that if there was a real 10-to-death fight, the scale monster would not necessarily lose, because her fighting strength was easier to display in life and death, but it was hard to tell in the competition field. Puff. A fist struck the ground, sending shockwaves into the sky. The audience inside and outside the stage immediately felt very satisfied when they saw the momentum of the competition. After all, a competition of this level is suitable for the top 20. Although the strong men in the Angel Camp have always been criticized by others, there are still strong ones among them. Each of these audience members discussed the strength of the Angel Camp very enthusiastically. It seems that this strong person from the Angel Camp is also very powerful. I think she is still a woman and looks so beautiful when fighting. I have decided that I will support her from today on. How come the members of Team Georgie over there don't know how to care about beauty? How dare you attack such a beautiful woman with all your strength? She's like a beast. Jia Yan was really surprised when he heard the commotion not far away. This scaly monster was actually a beautiful woman in this starry sky. How on earth could he tell? Jia Yan said that the biggest barrier between him in this starry sky may not be the identification of strong people, but the identification of aesthetics, because he does not understand the aesthetics of this starry sky at all. Kill. The junior peak expert of Team Georgie became eager to kill. After letting out a loud shout, he burst out with strength. The scaly monster saw that it was impossible to resist, and at this moment, the ruthless look in its eyes flashed away. The scales on her body suddenly opened and sprayed out fiercely towards the outside world. Puff 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 puff. Countless scales sprayed fiercely, and the opponent's attack also hit the scale monster's body. Bang! The bodies of both parties were separated at this moment. In front of the scale monster, the mantis monster appeared, resisting the attack it was supposed to bear. Zhejiki won this match, but player number 1 was also injured. "I judge that both sides will be eliminated," he said calmly. Despicable on Team Georgie, several strong men felt a little uncomfortable. They knew they were going to lose, so they played with their opponents and died together. It turned out that the strong man who fought against the scale monster in the early stage had many scales on his body. The mantis referee had no time to rescue him, so he could only be injured. In the end, although the angel camp still lost, the opponent also ended up, which was no different from a tie. "Okay, this method is normal in the game, you don't need to argue," the mantis referee said directly to the members of Team Georgie. "Both sides, come on stage for the next round." "Okay, I'm going. I think they will be serious about this, and they must be mid-level experts. I will try my best to save the opponent's energy consumption for you." The four-eyed monster looked at Jia Yan, feeling helpless and could only do this. Said. After seeing the opponent's actual strength, with even a member of the second team possessing such terrifying combat power, he no longer had any hope that he could break out and defeat an opponent's mid-level powerhouse. He walked on stage. The opponent who appeared on the stage was indeed a strong man from the early stage of the Starry Sky. This strong man was more than 60 meters tall. He was even the largest Jia Yan had seen among so many strong men. His figure also seems to be that of a stone giant. Strong men with this appearance seem to be common throughout the galaxy. "You are too despicable. So I will not hold back on you. Although I may not be able to hurt you, I can defeat you as quickly as possible," the stone giant in the middle of the Starry Sky shouted loudly to the four-eyed monster. "You idiot, come and try if you have the ability." The four-eyed monster could tell at a glance that this monster's weakness was that it was not smart enough. But this is also relative. After all, those who are strong enough to practice to this level are not too bad in mind. "How dare you call me a fool?" The stone giant was indeed angry. The huge boxing monster was raised and directly hit the four-eyed monster. The four-eyed monster, which was originally considered tall, turned into a small insect in the eyes of the stone giant. Its arms spread out and covered the entire body of the four-eyed monster. Facing such a terrifying blow, the four-eyed monster did not show the slightest fear in its eyes. Originally, the Angel Battalion was able to reach such a terrifying force, which was more than he hoped. Now he is not under much pressure, but can use showing almost all of his strength. A yellow dark light suddenly appeared on the surface of his body. Complete true power? No, just almost complete. This strong man from the Angel camp actually perfected his true power in just a few days. It's incredible. The host yelled on the live broadcast stage. In fact, it's no wonder that he yelled. After all, as a strong man who had not realized the true power for a long time and was exiled to this starry sky, the top leader of the Angel Camp branch has been the subject of ridicule by others recently. But I didn't expect that he actually mastered an almost complete level of true power. It was foreseeable that this guy would definitely return to the headquarters of their Angel Camp in the future and become a seed existence again. Jia Yan in the audience was not surprised at all, because the true ability of the strongest man in the Angel Camp only became so strong after he was pondered in the battle with him. You actually understood the real brain to this point? But it's useless, you still have to lose. The stone giant looked at the yellow light on the four-eyed monster's body with a disdainful expression. To him, it was just a person in the early stage of the starry sky. Even if a strong person realizes true power, he is still rubbish. His attack came down, and the four-eyed monster, protected by the real energy covering its whole body, brushed past his arm. However, the speed of this stone giant is not that simple, and it is really difficult for the four-eyed monster to defeat it. I saw that one of his order's arms had been waiting for the four-eyed monster to land, and slapped it hard. What? The four-eyed monster saw that he was about to be bombarded. Regarding the comparison of the strengths of the two sides, he deeply realized that there was a fundamental difference between heaven and earth, but this did not mean that he would admit defeat. Boom boom boom. The huge palm fell, but the four-eyed monster moved extremely quickly and luckily passed through the stone giant's fingers and quickly penetrated out. I hate my finger joints. The stone giant seemed to have been dissatisfied with the fact that he had finger joints for a long time. He shouted loudly. However, his attack did not linger too much, because although the four-eyed monster was small, it was only in comparison with him. In the previous blow, the four-eyed monster nervously escaped from its fingers. In fact, it was rubbed, and the referee also he didn't notice that his body was slightly injured. I can do it. Jia Yan mentioned it to me. If you use a really effective way to resolve it, you might be able to defeat a very strong opponent. But, that requires complete true power. My current level of true power is not complete yet. The four-eyed monster was anxious in his heart. His strength improved rapidly in the battle with Jia Yan, because Jia Yan not only fought with him, but also exchanged insights with each other, and he got too much from Jia Yan, which should not be the strongest in this star field. Only those who can understand the valuable insights and highlights will lead to rapid improvement in their strength. Complete. Really complete. The four-eyed monster once again barely avoided a bombardment from the opponent. This time, more areas were affected. If the referee found out, he would definitely declare the game over. Suddenly, Jia Yan's words suddenly appeared in his heart. It turns out that the so-called true power is an improved version of brainwave power. He originally heard this sentence as a casual joke, but at this moment, the joke seemed to take away his mind. What is the relationship between brainwave power and true energy? Boom boom boom. The stone giant failed to hit the four-eyed monster several times, and he became depressed at this time. He launched a fierce attack on this monster. A big hand came down, covering the four-eyed monster. The four-eyed monster did not move at this moment, as if it was absent-minded. Ah, the pink monsters here screamed when they saw it. They thought the four-eyed monster could not escape. However, the mantis referee on the side of the battle wanted to come to the rescue at this moment, but his expression suddenly changed. Boom. There was a hint of huge shaking between the heaven and the earth. You must know that this is an artificial space created by the power of the Dayton clan. It is specially used for the competition of strong people. It can cause such huge changes here. It can be seen that this palm how terrifying the power is. Even Jia Yan on one side became a little solemn about this attack. But when he saw that the referee didn't take action, he knew that there would definitely be some changes. Could it be, after all, Jia Yan was very familiar with the four-eyed monster. Now that he saw such a scene, he immediately thought of something. Sure enough, just when all the strong men and the audience started making noises, thinking that the referee had finally made a mistake and injured a strong man, they started making noises very loudly. A sound like an explosion under the huge palm suddenly resounded. Punch randomly in anger. The four-eyed monster's voice was full of momentum. Although it was suppressed under the palm of his hand, his sense of power was still soaring to the sky, making people aware of it. Boom 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 boom. A punch struck the palm of his hand. The audience finally saw that under the huge palm, there was a huge cave underneath, and the four-eyed monster had actually dug such a huge cave in an instant, allowing itself to avoid the opponent's palm. But now this guy started attacking desperately, hitting his palms so hard that they shook slightly. It turns out that this is how you escaped, but you couldn't hit my palm out. The stone giant was surprised by the four-eyed monster's avoidance method, but his confidence in himself was not at all affected by this miss. Gave up. His palm was pressed against the cave, but the attacks from below were continuous, directly lifting his palm. The fist that appeared during the bombardment directly showed a yellow light. True meaning? It's actually perfected. The captain of the Angel Battalion actually made a breakthrough before the battle. He succeeded in cultivating the true power. He became a person who fully understood the existence of the true power. Only in the early days of the Starry Sky the host on the stage responded to the counterattack. The four-eyed monster roared in surprise. Ah, hit, 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 the four-eyed monster attacked fiercely. The stone giant kept retreating unbelievably. He was in the early stage of the Starry Sky, but the opponent was already at the peak of the early stage. With his true intentions, he was immediately on a par with him who was only in the early stage of the Starry Sky. Seeing that his overwhelming advantage turned into an equal match, the stone giant's shortcomings of being unable to turn his head were now revealed. When he was thinking about how he could be suppressed by an early existence, the four-eyed monster had already launched several attacks with overwhelming momentum. I'm angry, the stone giant backed away, as if he had figured something out and was about to launch an attack. Okay, I admit defeat. The four-eyed monster suddenly retreated and shouted directly. This four-eyed monster is so bad. Jia Yan in the audience smiled slightly. In fact, the strength of the stone giant is far greater than that of the four-eyed monster. Even if he bursts out with true energy, it won't have much effect on the essential difference in strength. Now this guy has consumed a lot of the stone giant's energy with one breath of crazy attacks. The four-eyed monster had long since exhausted its energy and naturally gave up. I'm so angry, the stone giant yelled like crazy. I'm so scared. The four-eyed monster showed its playful nature and flew out of the ring as if it was frightened. Awesome. Jia Yan was extremely satisfied with his performance. Although this guy was not extremely strong, he did what he said he wanted to do to drain the opponent's energy, and this was despite the fact that his strength was too much. It's rare. What's even more rare is a breakthrough on the spot. Whether it's luck or accumulation, they are a lot stronger. It feels so good to fight. I can actually fight like this with a strong person from the early stage of the Starry Sky, ha ha ha. The four-eyed monster was finally proud of his own strength. But Jia Yan, the opponent was beaten crazy by me. You have to be careful when you go on the field. If you can't, just admit defeat. There is no shame in being like me, the four-eyed monster said to Jia Yan. Although he also knew that Jia Yan was stronger than him, the opponent was a strong man in the early stage of the Starry Sky. For them, a battle across one level could no longer be bridged by a small difference in strength. Don't worry, I will do it, Jia Yan said calmly. But inside, no one knows what Jia Yan is thinking. Okay, then Jia Yan, go ahead. I believe you, I won't be surprised even if you win, the four-eyed monster said to Jia Yan. Well, Jia Yan, come on, I believe you too. The scale monster stood aside and said encouragingly. Jia Yan, I lost miserably, help me win back. The pink monster made an almost impossible request to Jia Yan. Jia Yan looked at these strong men who had just passed by for a while, but could also be considered friends, and nodded lightly. He knew that whatever he did in the future would definitely endanger them. But thinking about it, it won't be too harmful. After all, for the Angel Camp, Jia Yan is just a foreign aid. I'm on, thank you. Jia Yan said this inexplicably. He walked up to the ring with his head held high. And the stone giant saw Jia Yan coming on stage. I immediately jumped on my feet and wanted to rush over. Kill you guys from the Angel Camp. Make me ashamed. Okay, you guys fight, the battle begins. The Mantis referee also announced the start of the game at this time. Jia Yan, come on! Shouted the pink monster below. The opponent's stone giant shouted wildly and rushed towards Jia Yan. Jia Yan took a deep breath of the air in the Starry Sky. He found that after being here for a long time, he even got used to breathing this weird-smelling air. My strength has been developing very rapidly these days, and now is the time to try it out. How will my strength perform against the opponents in the midterm of Xinhong? The stone giant pounced, and at the moment of charging, his arms had been opened directly, and the huge palm seemed to control the world. The darkness covered Jia Yan's entire body. Jia Yan's performance was similar to that of the previous four-eyed monster, seemingly not moving at all. Want to dig holes like him? What a wonderful idea! The strength of the stone giant's arms increased greatly, and his speed suddenly increased to a new height. Ha ha! Jia Yan laughed. Dig a hole? Jia Yan can act in critical situations, but does he need it when facing this stone giant? Puff! At the moment when the opponent's arm was waving, the huge palm completely covered Jia Yan's position, and the smoke and dust rising into the sky blocked the view of the playing field. Reborn as an Interstellar Giant Mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 580. A faint dark light flashed through the big mosquito's compound eyes. His body suddenly moved at this moment. Boom! The palm as big as a mountain slapped the ground hard. The surrounding ground seemed to have exploded with gunpowder, and rocks and sand flew up. They were like bullets, shooting away in all directions. Such a huge coverage area is simply extremely terrifying, and it is a deterrent to those ordinary star-red level beings on the sidelines. However, before the huge palm struck, a figure as fast as lightning had already sprung out of the attack range. Jia Yan's speed was much faster than before he just participated in the conference. Big Mosquito learned too much in this conference. As a being who originally relied on instinct and combat experience to support most of his combat prowess, his previous battles were too superficial. Although his fighting energy has not been greatly enhanced by participating in this conference, for him, the real fighting techniques and relatively complete theories are learned here. What is even more valuable is that there are too many people here. Many strong men serve as his sparring partners. Where can I find such a good thing in the world? Jia Yan's speed instantly avoided the stone giant's attack according to the method recorded in a combat document. Sure enough, when I dodge like this, the other person who borrows it can raise his hands to avoid the strong wind. The dodge is extremely fast, and it doesn't cost much of my own strength. Why haven't I realized this before? Jia Yan was flying in the air, with a hint of understanding in his compound eyes. In the experience of those predecessors, there are special methods for dealing with fast creatures. There are also special methods for dealing with slow creatures. There are also special methods in books to deal with strong men who are much stronger than yourself. How could you hide so quickly? The stone giant was startled. He looked at the big mosquitoes flying in the sky and used his thick arms to exert force again. Hoo ho ho! The sound of roaring mountains and tsunami could be heard in the air. The speed of the big mosquito was extremely terrifying at this moment. However, the opponent raised his arms and covered the entire sky. The stone giant's open palm was half as big as his own body, almost equivalent to the size of Jia Yan's entire body. He was confident that this blow would hit the big mosquito. But before his attack reached mid-air, Jia Yan, who was flying in the sky, finally launched a direct attack at this moment. It's true that a big body is good, but a big body will inevitably bring about a slowdown in speed. Your speed is too slow. Jia Yan made a faint sound of disdain in the air, and then his speed suddenly increased again. Flying in the air, he directly raised his front feet, aimed at the opponent's head, and launched an attack. This Jia Yan's speed seems to be much higher than when he fought with me. I don't know if he was hiding his strength before, or if he has improved so much in such a short period of time. It should be the former, because if it is the latter, if that's the case, that would be too sensational. In the battle with Jia Yan on the first day, the petite monster who had competed with Jia Yan for speed made a sound of surprise. His eyes were solemn. In fact, all the strong men here saw Jia Yan's improvement in combat strength. If this foreign aide from the angel camp was really pretending and had been hiding it before, then his acting ability would also be affected. It's just a little too strong. Because there are some things that cannot be faked, especially the fighting habits and the small actions of strong men when fighting. Jia Yan's performance in the past was really like that of a novice, but now he is improving every day. Now in some aspects, his fighting style is even stronger than most of them. Can this be installed? Why? Increasing in strength day by day, and then surprising other strong men? It seems that this is not necessary at all. The thoughts of the strong men in the audience were surging, but the decisive battle between Jia Yan and the stone giant on the stage was still unfolding. Puff! A crisp sound resounded in the air, and Jia Yan's forefoot thrust out directly left a faint mark on the stone giant's body. The defense is so strong. Jia Yan looked at the stone giant's back that was attacked by him, and was a little surprised. Although his blow did not use all his strength, it still used 5 points of force. At this time, based on the sharpness of the front foot of the staff, it was actually unable to directly penetrate the outer defense of the stone giant. He is worthy of being a mid-level player in the Starry Sky. It seems that the era of being able to defeat his opponents by relying on his sharp front feet has passed. Jia Yan looked at the outer skin of the stone giant that resisted his attack, and saw a burst of energy flashing on it. He knew in his heart that this was the combination of the opponent's actual defense power and energy, and he easily defended his attack. The Xinhong Intermediate is still the Xinhong Intermediate. For Jia Yan, an opponent of this level cannot be easily defeated no matter who he is. It hurts so much, you're going to die. The stone giant felt that an existence from the early stage of the Starry Sky could actually attack him, and even hurt him. He suddenly became furious. His not-so-smart mind still remembers. After being hurt by an existence from the early stage of the Starry Sky, although he killed the opponent directly, this incident was laughed at by other teammates for more than half a year. Ho ho ho, the stone giant yelled fiercely. His palm actually expanded when he slapped Jia Yan. It doubled in size in an instant, and a terrifying feeling enveloped Jia Yan's body. However, Jia Yan's speed continued to serve as his best explosive. When the opponent's attack hit him, his speed suddenly increased again in the air. Bang! The giant mountain-like hand hit the ground. This is the moment. After one blow, the stone giant was temporarily unable to fight back. Jia Yan immediately saw the opportunity, raised his front legs, and stabbed the opponent's head fiercely. This time, he used more power than before. Before, it was 50% of his strength, but now it is 70%. The stone giant was on the ground, his eyes caught a glimpse of this scene, and he suddenly felt like a dead soul. Jia Yan's attack obviously increased in strength. He had found it difficult to defend against the previous attack, but now he knew he couldn't defend against this more powerful attack. At this moment, the Mantis referee took action directly. So this is how it felt when the Mantis referee took action. Jia Yan had already anticipated this outcome, so he kept his eyes on the Mantis referee aside. I saw the Mantis referee kicking hard with his feet from the ground. His wings were spread out at this moment, maybe out of habit, maybe to maintain balance or something. In short, his speed at this moment suddenly exceeded Jia Yan's line of sight speed, which was incredibly fast. But Jia Yan realized carefully at this moment that he could still feel the approach of this strong man in his sensory organs. There was suddenly a hint of joy in his compound eyes. There are fixed ways to deal with any opponent. Even if it is an extremely terrifying existence, as long as you are familiar with the opponent's fighting style, you will gradually become familiar with it. Although it is still possible that he will not be able to win in his lifetime. But this existence will become more and more familiar to him. In this case, as long as his strength increases a little, it will not be difficult to defeat the opponent in the future. In the past few days, Jia Yan has felt the strength of strong referees every day. Now that his own strength has improved, he can actually feel the opponent's movements. It seems that I don't have any backhand power at all. Of course, the gap is still too big now. Just when Jia Yan sensed all this, he felt a huge thing coming in an instant directly in front of him at his front foot. The Mantis judge has arrived. Although Jia Yan already knew about this, at this moment, the tip of his forefoot still exerted a slight force and thrust forward fiercely. Creak. A slight sound came from the place where the two were in contact. Okay, the winner has been decided. The Mantis referee's voice came out in front of him. But there was a hint of deep surprise in his eyes, looking at Jia Yan. As a strong man, especially a midterm strong man in this starry sky, he could step into a high level at any time if he even thought about it. Originally, he didn't care much about the famous flying creature in front of him. Just an ordinary early stage player. But this guy's performance again and again made him feel a little shocked. You know, this strong man has been in contact with Jia Yan several times. He can make a rough judgment on Jia Yan's actual strength, but he watching Jia Yan fight again and again, he greatly improved his strength. Especially at this moment, he finally felt a sense of threat to Jia Yan's strength. You must know that this strong man is about to reach the high-level starry sky level and step onto the top of the starry sky. But it was really hard for him to block Jia Yan's blow. Looking at the surface of his front foot, where a large mosquito had pricked a deep ravine, his expression became solemn. Thank you. Jia Yan jumped behind and thanked the referee directly. He has gotten the answer he wants, so he should be a little more honest. At least now, his strength is far inferior to that of his opponent. After staring at Jia Yan with an unknown look for a while, the referee looked away. Jia Yan wins this match, he said. Wow. On the sidelines of the game and on the audience stage, there was really loud cheers. They could not have imagined that this early stage strongman who had made a lot of noise before, who was just a foreign aide, could really defeat a mid-level strongman. Even this strongman was not just an ordinary person, but a strongman of the Georgie team. That was no ordinary strongman. This Jia Yan, where is the bottom line of his strength? Doesn't he have a bottom line? The four-eyed monster was also extremely surprised in the audience. He originally thought he knew a lot about Jia Yan, but now he sees Jia Yan's the stone giant that he had been unable to defeat before was actually defeated in one battle. It could even be seen that he was still so happy with his victory, and he suddenly became a little unsure of Jia Yan's strength. So strong. Even the strong players in the players' seats are all afraid of Jia Yan's strength. They can imagine that Jia Yan's strength has still not been fully demonstrated. If his strength is fully utilized, then the strong players in the midterm, most of them might not be his opponents. And all this depends on how much strength Jia Yan still retains. Okay, Team Georgie will send out the next player. The Mantis referee did not give everyone much time and directly announced the start of a battle. Boy, don't think that just because you beat a reserve guy, you want to beat our main team's mid-level powerhouse. I want you to know that the real powerhouses of Team Georgie are not that simple. Below the ring, a powerful monster that looked like a horse jumped up. This monster has 4 hooves, but only 1 eye. His stature is much smaller than the previous stone giant, not even as big as Jia Yan, and he feels a little weak. But Jia Yan will not treat him as a weakling. Because he saw that this man's armor was equipped with a badge representing an official member of Team Georgie. This is an official member of Team Georgie. Presumably the strongest player in Team Georgie was a little angry when he saw that he was facing a garbage force and had lost 2 strong players, even 2 substitutes, right? Jia Yan understood the joints, but at this moment he didn't have the slightest fear. He was still not satisfied with facing the stone giant before, but now that a formal member of Team Georgie came, he was naturally extremely excited. As for whether it is possible to achieve a killing streak again and clear this Georgie team directly, even Jia Yan himself does not believe this at all, because the opponent's strength cannot be overshadowed. Even if a mid-level powerhouse like the referee will not appear, the strength of the latter 2 beings is infinitely close to that of the Mantis referee. Jia Yan didn't realize that he could defeat the opponent now. But even if he couldn't defeat it, he still had to try it. My name is Jia Yan, please give me more advice. He said respectful words to the middle stage existence that he could tell exuded a terrifying aura just by looking at him. You're wise, kid. If you think you can't win, you can admit defeat now. I won't make things difficult for you. The horse-like monster on the other side looked at Jia Yan in a playful way. He knew that his strength could steadily suppress Jia Yan, and Jia Yan obviously knew this, but what he feared most was that Jia Yan would admit defeat directly. The stone giant's revenge had not been avenged before, so he was worried that Jia Yan would admit defeat first, so he first speak up. In this way, Jia Yan would probably not say anything about surrender if he took his face into consideration. Sure enough, he was stunned when he saw Jia Yan opposite. Then he shook his head and said, Jia Yan, know that I may not be able to defeat you, but I will not admit defeat. I hope you will be merciful. Very good, then let's get started, the strong horseman said calmly. Then his body moved directly and launched an attack. Do you think Jia Yan will win this match? The scaly monster asked the four-eyed monster in the audience. It's hard to say. We don't know Jia Yan's strength very well, but if it's just the level he showed before, it's hard. As the leader of a branch of a force, the four-eyed monster has absolutely complete information collection on Team Jirji. That's why I say this now. As one of the main members of the Jirji team, this horse monster is famous for too many battles. Not to mention, a month ago, while preparing for the Gathering Conference, he helped a small force. A group of star thieves within their sphere of influence. You must know that there are 3 midterm star thieves in that group of star thieves. And this powerful horseman still wiped out the star thieves single-handedly without leaving even a trace. This was also the most eye-catching battle of the Jirji team recently. It will be difficult for Jia Yan to win, he sighed and said again. Seeing his appearance, the scaly monster also shook his head. She knew the gap between the two sides, but she had blind faith in Jia Yan, and she still felt that Jia Yan had a slight chance. However, she did not expect that the four-eyed leader with good vision would firmly say that Jia Yan was going to lose. She was right when she thought about it. Facing such a terrifying force, being able to defeat a midterm powerhouse in the starry sky was already something she could be proud of. Such an existence was for their previous Angel Camp branch. It is a catastrophic existence, if the previous stone giant thought about it. One of them can destroy their branch, and now that he can defeat him, he is definitely showing off his face. There is nothing uncomfortable. The strong men of the Angel Camp here want to go away, but they also want to go to Jin in the battle. His battle has just begun. Bang bang. The horse monster rushed in front of Jia Yan at such an exaggerated speed that even Jia Yan felt a little overwhelmed. He vaguely saw the figure of the other party, and then his body quickly jumped up just before the attack came to his body. The opponent's attack hit the ground, but it did not stop. He chased out again in the flying dust. At this moment, Jia Yan's speed increased to the limit of the 8th level of strength. But it's still a tad slower than the opponent's speed. This horse monster is obviously not a speed creature. Is this just the average level of a strong person at this level? Jia Yan once again felt the gap with the opponent. He couldn't see clearly when the horse monster attacked, and the opponent was not fast at all. Such a creature can make Jia Yan a little confused, which shows that the gap between them is indeed huge. However, Jia Yan still dodged the opponent's attacks again and again at this time. What's going on? This kid's speed is obviously not very fast, but he can dodge my attacks every time. The horse monster was also anxious at this time. He wanted to humiliate Jia Yan for the end, not to fight with Jia Yan. It's a protracted battle between cat and mouse, and it would be embarrassing to go back if you win. Humph. Do you think you can barely match me in speed and you can hide forever? The horse monster saw that Jia Yan always narrowly avoided his attacks, and now a dangerous light appeared in his single eyes. As a combat expert, his strength cannot be that simple. I don't know how many opponents I have encountered who were faster than Jia Yan in the past, but these opponents all died, by his hands. Crack. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 581. Crack. A bright light appeared on the spot. \U003C \U003C. Crack. When Jia Yan reacted, this bright light stabbed directly at a speed that was impossible to avoid, hitting the fleeing Jia Yan's body. The horse monster's famous stunt is also the one that truly kills his opponents, lightning power. Just like many creatures on Earth possess electrical energy, many lives in the universe possess this magical power, and they are even more terrifying than the electrical energy possessed by life on Earth. Jia Yan was already familiar with this kind of power, but when he saw this horse monster exerting this kind of power, he was still shocked by its speed and piercing power. Poof! High pressure fell on Jia Yan's body instantly. At this moment, he felt an indescribable huge pressure suddenly appear in his body. Not good, Jia Yan was shocked. The exoskeleton is anti-electricity, but obviously the opponent's power is not that simple. The electricity Jia Yan feels at this time is definitely over 1,000,000 volts. You're dead. The horse monster looked at Jia Yan's figure and instantly fell down in the air, showing a faint smile, but the mantis referee's eyes were on his face. But it made him a little depressed. Deaths and injuries are prohibited on the playing field. With this attack, Jia Yan will definitely die or be injured. He, the referee, had no time to rescue him before. It would be his dereliction of duty to speak out, so looking at the eyes of this horse monster at this moment, something bad is happening. However, the horse monster is not afraid. After all, he is a member of the Jirji team. In his own force, he also has a strong man of the opponent's level. If he offends this referee, he will only apologize for it. Presumably he will not do it because of this. Regarding other people's affairs, start a confrontation with Team Jirji. Alas, the referee looked at the falling Jia Yan and sighed. He really would not start a confrontation with Team Jirji because of Jia Yan's matter, and Jia Yan was not worthy of him. It's just a pity for this strong man that such a seemingly powerful early star died like this. Even he didn't think Jia Yan could survive, because the lightning power of this powerful horseman, even for existences of their level, must be wrapped in true energy to barely be able to overcome it. Just when he was about to announce that Jia Yan was defeated, he looked at the ground where Jia Yan fell to the ground with a slightly moved expression. Click click click. The terrifying figure of the big mosquito slowly stood up from the ground. How is it possible? The mantis referee was a little shocked. As an early-stage Star Sky player who has not yet realized true power, how could he be resistant to the lightning power of the horse monster? Is this still the early stage of the Starry Sky? The horse monster opposite was also extremely shocked, but maybe he thought of something. He showed a relieved expression again. So you have the ability to resist electric energy? It seems that there are many creatures like me in the environment where you grew up, right? But I don't just have electric energy. The horse monster said calmly, as if he wasn't too surprised by the mosquito's ability to resist electricity. Your electric energy is really powerful. Jia Yan stood up. There was a strange light in his compound eyes. If you are familiar with him, you will know that the big mosquito is angry. Jia Yan only felt extremely uncomfortable all over his body, although there was nothing visible on his body. But he understood that the light blue color inside his body was directly revealed. This electric energy actually knocked out the blue defense in his body. How can a big mosquito not be angry? If my electric energy is powerful, I will electrocute you to death right now, the horse monster said calmly. The fierceness in Jia Yanfu's eyes became even stronger. The other party actually wanted to kill him in this conference. This is no longer the level of a conference, this is a battle. Jia Yan suddenly felt a familiar feeling. This feeling was not unfamiliar to him. After each battle here, Jia Yan almost forgot the real feeling of battle. But when the horse monster attacked him cruelly, his anger, the sense of danger and crisis came up, and he suddenly realized that his sense of crisis had been reduced too much. Now he suddenly came to his senses, and he immediately had a real fighting spirit towards this horse monster. The other party obviously also saw the fighting spirit of Big Mosquito. In fact, it is abnormal to have no fighting spirit. If he encounters someone who wants to kill him on the playing field, his fighting spirit will rise. "Come on, little one," the horse monster said softly. A dark light flashed in Jia Yanfu's eyes, and then his body suddenly turned into an afterimage and rushed towards the opponent. Jia Yan naturally fights back against those who want to kill him. However, he still did not release his strongest energy, because he knew that this was still a competition ground. Even if he won here, there would be no death. What Jia Yan wanted was not to kill Qing here. "Since I can't kill you, I can defeat you," Jia Yan thought, and then he launched his first attack. Ding ding ding. The horse monster saw attacks coming one after another in front of him. Jia Yan's speed was already fast, and the speed with which he swung his front legs was even more terrifying. The attacks came one after another, shocking him and leaving him passive. Get defensive. This early stage monster is actually so strong. The horse monster was a little shocked at the moment and his heart was very solemn. Previously, because Jia Yan had offended their Jirji team, he wanted to use his lightning power and even the Mantis referee could not react to this advantage. Killing Jia Yan directly would also serve as a warning to the monkeys. But he didn't expect that Jia Yan, a previously unknown strong man, could even resist electricity. Now this horse monster also felt troublesome. What's even more troublesome is Jia Yan's front foot stabbing ability. Even he feels a little threatened. The angle and speed of his attack are completely different from the day the competition just started. Is this all because he is hiding his strength? As a participant of the conference, the horse monster, Jia Yan, has a lot of doubts about Jia Yan's performance in this conference. There is also some research on the powerful people who have become famous in the world, but he has always scorned Jia Yan, thinking that he was just trying to gain fame. This is also the reason why the other party actually wants to kill him if there is a little trigger. Ding 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 ding. A series of attacks and collisions sounded continuously in the competition venue. The horse monster could only use its own skull to block Jia Yan's attack. This strong man's skull was no softer than Jia Yan's front feet, so the two sides actually started attacking and defending extremely fiercely at that moment. This, the hosts on the stage became confused. Player Jia Yan is so awesome. He can actually be evenly matched with the official members of Team Jirji. What happened? Why has Jia Yan's attack power become so much stronger? Has he been hiding his strength? This strong man's where is the bottom line? The host praised Jia Yan to the sky with saliva, and the surrounding audience also cheered loudly. As an audience, they naturally hope to see this kind of thing, and the dark horse or something is the most eye-catching. Moreover, Jia Yan has been the most controversial player since the start of the competition. For him, he has many fans, but there are also many people who refute him. Now, each of these refutations seems to have swallowed flies at this moment, one by one. Consternation. However, although the people on the stage were happy to see it, the existence of the fighting in Taishung was unspeakably painful. The opponent's horse monster is like this, and so is Jia Yan. Up to now, he is still using the power of the 8th level, but when using this power, he shows off the powerful fighting skills he has learned in the past few days. This horse monster is indeed one of the most powerful among the midterm powerhouses in the starry sky. It will be too difficult for me to defeat him. Jia Yan actually wanted to give up, but when he thought about how the other party had tried to do evil things to him before, the anger in his heart couldn't be extinguished. This is beyond the scope of the conference. At least defeat him. In that case, my fighting power and fighting style will not be too accurate by other strong men. Jia Yan immediately launched an attack, but during this period, his attack intention probably changed in a way that he was unfamiliar with. What he is worried about is that some strong men will record his attack and defense methods. Every strong man will keep two hands in the conference. This is also because all strong men do not want to be caught by their opponents in a real battle. Habit. Jia Yan is even more like this. After all, he is destined to fight these strong men in the future, so he doesn't want to expose his true fighting skills. But if he doesn't defeat this opponent now, he feels uncomfortable. Boom boom boom. With the opening of the 8th level of power, coupled with some learned combat skills, Jia Yan, the terrifying big mosquito, actually directly suppressed this extremely powerful midterm star expert. The four-eyed monster below, as well as the rest of the angel camp, had long been stunned. They knew that Jia Yan was powerful, but no one expected that Jia Yan was so powerful. Jia Yan stabbed out, and there was a sudden sound on the tip of his forefoot. Jia Yan keenly discovered that the horse monster in front of him obviously didn't move as fast as before. Although this strong man was powerful, he was only on par with Jia Yan, who had unleashed the 8th level of strength. He could not stop Jia Yan's continuous attacks for too long. It seems that my endurance advantage is also applicable in this starry sky. Jia Yan continued to attack fiercely. The opponent's figure began to become a little inflexible. Admit defeat, little guy. Jia Yan imitated the other person's tone and said directly to him. Bastard! How could I be defeated by a kid like you? The opponent suddenly brought it up again in one breath, and Su Jiayan continued to defend against his attacks. A well-known strong man, looking at the current battlefield, felt a little speechless. Before this battle, no one thought that Jia Yan could fight like this against a well-known midterm strong man. They had all thought before. I thought Jia Yan was just praised by the media, but now his performance is completely worthy of a real star. Apart from him, who else in the early stage of the starry sky can fight like this with a being who is also extremely powerful in the middle stage? This guy must have fought in one breath. A being from the midterm of the starry sky has almost no fighting energy. He must be even more unbearable. But even if he loses now, his reputation will definitely be settled. This guy, actually almost equivalent to a powerful star midtermer. A starry sky level powerhouse sitting on the sidelines looked at the battle on the field and became a little distracted. This strong man is not afraid of Jia Yan's fighting power, because he is simply a force at the lowest level. He just thinks that Jia Yan is only an early stage existence, and it is not the early stage of comprehending the true power, but he can actually do this. Powerful, suppressing a top monster among the midterm powerhouses in the starry sky for a period of time. He is so strong in the early stage. If he is promoted to the middle stage. The strong man's eyes widened in confusion. But he had no idea that Jia Yan had estimated it himself. It is impossible for him to have the concept of midterm, because he is an evolved beast. As long as he evolves again, he will be a real strong man. This starry sky can be considered extremely terrifying. The strong man at the top of the starry sky? Only then will the true terrifying aspect of Jia Yan's evolved beast be revealed. For the evolved beast, the higher the level, the more terrifying it is. When the time comes, he may even overwhelm the starry sky. It is not impossible for the strongest person to reach the level of the top 10 strong people. Boom boom boom. Jia Yan's attack did not slowly lose its attack power like the strong man in the audience had thought. Instead, it did not stop at all and directly launched the maximum attack on the horse monster in front of him. The horse monster was frightened at this moment and fought back somewhat fiercely. He knew that his endurance might not be able to compare with the opponent's flying monster, so he just started attacking like crazy at this moment. Anyway, Jia Yan's attacks were not as capable as him. Even the Mantis referee couldn't react to the method. His safety was guaranteed, so he naturally fought back against Jia Yan. Puff 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 puff. Under Jia Yan's attack, his body retreated hard, almost approaching the edge of the playing field. And at the moment when the horse monster was distracted and looked behind him, the sparkle in Jia Yanfu's eyes suddenly lit up. Puff. An attack that contained the skills he had gained in combat research in recent days, as well as some combat insights in the starry sky, was directly bombarded and struck hard. No, a flash of horror suddenly appeared in the eyes of the horse monster, and he directly raised his head to resist Jin's attack. But Jia Yan's attack seemed to have a peculiar trajectory, directly sparing the opponent's hard head and stabbing the horse monster in the neck. Jia Yan was surprised when he succeeded in one blow. Because the expected Mantis referee did not arrive. His blow actually drew blood. Blood spurted out from the horse monster's neck. In surprise, he looked behind him and saw the Mantis referee rushing over. When he saw the opponent's eyes, he realized how terrible it was to offend the referee on the playing field. Okay, I was distracted. It's my fault. Your injury will be calculated according to the compensation agreement of the conference. In this game, Jia Yan wins. The Mantis referee looked at the wound slightly. He said calmly. The horse monster was a little angry and wanted to be angry, but he still held it back. Don't be too complacent, kid. This is not a real battle. If we really fight, I will never lose. The horse monster had a look of resentment in his eyes and said harshly to Jia Yan. Oh, really? Jia Yan repeated his old trick and mocked. You. The horse monster almost spit out blood. In the past, he was the only one who mocked others, but today he was actually mocked like this. While they were talking a few words, there was already a huge commotion on the sidelines and in the audience. The audience saw that Jia Yan was able to fight against this strong man, but no one thought that this strong man could really defeat a powerful midterm star player. Now the truth really happened before their eyes, and they couldn't believe their eyes. Then the lord of the Jirji team, I have seen him before. He directly suppressed the battle in a place. Several starry sky early existences surrendered directly when they saw him. Such a strong man actually lost to a person here. Early starry sky. It's unbelievable. It's really unbelievable. This Jia Yan can actually defeat even this level of mid-level starry warriors. His fighting talent is completely better than that of the powerful heavenly dragon. He said before that he can defeat the powerful heavenly dragon. It's a tie, that's a compliment to the powerful Tianlong. If Jia Yan didn't kill him with one blow, the stars of the powerful Tianlong are definitely in the early stage of the powerful starry sky. Oh, the winner is actually Jia Yan, the player we don't expect. This. The host was speechless again. His commentary has always been a little bit Jia Yan hey, and Jia Yan's victory again and again was like a slap in the face. Now it's even more outrageous. Even one of the hosts said that the midterm experts who were probably all equally powerful were also defeated by Jia Yan, which made him dare not be presumptuous towards Jia Yan in his heart. Okay, let's see. The strong players of Team Jirji are also making noises. The first two strong players among them stand up. Oh. The second strong opponent comes directly onto the stage. Jia Yan looked at the rear. A strong man appeared directly from the Jirji team's players' bench. He felt like he wanted to kill Jia Yan quickly. There was a strange flash of color in his compound eyes. This strong man is definitely extremely powerful, even much stronger than the previous horse monster. If you want to fight him, even if Jia Yang Xiangshen himself is activated, he may not be able to win with all his fighting energy. I give up. Just when the entire audience, as well as the strong men on the sidelines, and even the strong men in the angel camp, thought that Jia Yan would always choose to fight against any enemy, he admitted defeat. Are you admitting defeat? Are you sure? The Mantis referee was also a little shocked. He thought Jia Yan would not have the character to admit defeat. "I'm sure," Jia Yan said calmly. After that, he slowly flew towards the Angel Camp player benches. You bastard, aren't you a good fighter? Come and fight with me." Bastard. Seeing Jia Yan admit defeat, the monster shouted from behind in great depression. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 582. The Jirji team was defeated by 2 players in a row by Jia Yan. As one of the 2 strongest players in the Jirji team, he came out now just to regain some face. Unexpectedly, Jia Yan actually gave up. His full fighting spirit was extinguished, so it would be strange not to get angry. As soon as his body moves, he will rush towards Jia Yan. "He has already given up, please don't take action," a voice sounded, and the Mantis referee flew in front of him and stopped him directly. "Humph," the other party snorted coldly and stepped down directly. Although there is still a gap between this being and the Mantis referee, the gap is not big. With the backstage, it is natural not to give him face. Well, in this match between Team Jirji and Angel Camp, Team Jirji won. The referee was not too angry about Team Jirji's arrogance. After all, he had tricked others before, so naturally he wouldn't. He continued to say unfavorable words to them and directly announced the result of the battle. The Angel Camp lost, but that's normal. It's abnormal for them to be upset against Team Jirji. But Jia Yan was able to defeat a powerful midterm star player, and he didn't seem to be afraid of the powerful person coming up behind him. He is definitely capable of fighting. Don't be ridiculous. How could Jia Yan have an influence on Master Kui, who was behind him? He is only in the midterm of Starry Sky. Master Kui is powerful even in the midterm of Starry Sky. Compared with him, Jia Yan is like a firefly and a bright moon. Compared to. The debate continued in the audience. Some of them were impressed and surprised by Jia Yan's fighting ability. Some still sneered at Jia Yan's combat effectiveness. But no matter what, the Angel Camp faced a force that had the strength to compete for the first place, and it was still able to defeat several of the strong ones, and even defeated a regular member. This made almost everyone have a sense of the Angel Camp. Improve again. But a loss is a loss. For the Angel Camp, his impressive winning streak has ended. Okay, you've done your best, I know. Regarding Jia Yan, who stepped down, the 4-eyed monster from the Angel Camp said calmly. Jia Yan just nodded. Maybe the existence of these Angel Camps felt a little uncomfortable because he didn't persist at the last moment, but it was impossible for him to completely expose his strength here. This is not his real battlefield. In the days that followed, the Angel Camp, which had been in full swing before and even became a hot topic for a while, experienced a losing streak for several consecutive days. Jia Yan's magic no longer seems to exist, and his appearance in battle will no longer be full of miracles. Some people have analyzed the reason, because the player Jia Yan's strength is not that outstanding among all players, even if his combat power at the beginning is indeed better than the average early Starry Sky, and even exceeds some early Starry Sky players. A strong man, but after all, he is still a strong man in the early stage of the Starry Sky. For him, the decline in strength caused by long-term battles is normal. In this case, the pressure on the other strong men of the Angel Battalion increased greatly, but without Jia Yan's powerful help that could leapfrog the battle, the Angel Battalion changed its previous winning streak and turned it into a joke. Tomorrow is the last game. Their strength is much weaker than ours. We will definitely win this game. In the resting area of the Angel Camp players, the 4-eyed monster summoned all the members and spoke directly about the last day. Yes, this is the final stage of the conference. In this process, Angel Camp experienced its initial dazzling moment, was ridiculed first, and then was forgotten. The game process of Angel Camp, just looking at the initial period, is indeed worthy of a close-up, and may even become a big news this year, but their later operations were somewhat unsatisfactory. It feels quite anticlimactic. We have a responsibility to fight like this. We put too much pressure on you, Jia Yan. Obviously you are not from our angel camp, but we rely on you. I am here to express my gratitude. The four-eyed monster looked at Jia Yan, said with some sincerity. He really had the idea of pulling the super powerful Xin Kong initial stage under his command now. As the top leader of the angel camp who holds most of the power in this starry sky, he has the right to win over a starry sky level master. In other words, if a starry sky level master joins, the headquarters will be happier. You're welcome. I'm just doing my duty as a foreign aide. It was the last day, and Jia Yan's feeling gave them a distant look. In the meeting on the last day, the relationship should have been better, but the beings from the angel camp. Jia Yan felt that this helped them achieve their set goal, that is, after obtaining the basic right to collect quotas, not only did his performance in the battle deteriorate, but his relationship with them gradually became colder. Haha, no matter what, your contribution is great. We promise that your reward will not be small. The four-eyed monster also became a little indifferent. As the top leader of the angel camp, how could he not see that the big mosquito seemed to have other ideas? What he wants, but even now, he still doesn't know what the other party wants. After the meeting, Jia Yan, wait, a voice sounded from behind Jin. Is there a problem? Jia Yan turned his head, and behind him was the scaly monster. It is said that you lived here, right? I wonder what your plans are for the future. Will you leave here or settle down in this starry sky? The scale monster came to Jia Yan and asked with some anxiety. I am living here, but I may not stay long. I will leave after the game. Jia Yan was silent for a while and then said calmly. He could feel that the scaly monster wanted to leave his thoughts behind, but he really had no intention of doing so. He always had to find a way to return to Earth. If I say that I am willing to go with you, will you take me away? Unexpectedly, the scaly monster said something that shocked Jia Yan. She is really too obsessed with Jia Yan, as if she has fallen in love with someone who can never fall in love with her. For her, the only way to fight is at this last moment. I'm sorry, I've always been used to being alone. Jia Yan was silent again for a while, then refused directly. This is the first time a girl has confessed her love to him, but this girl's appearance. Jia Yan really couldn't accept it. What's more, Jia Yan's future path is really not suitable for taking another strong person with him. His path is destined to be lonely. Haha, I understand. The scale monster let out a faint laugh, but this laughter looked a little miserable. Looking at her leaving figure, Jia Yan let out a long sigh. Although he couldn't appreciate this kind of girl, he seemed to be able to understand her feelings a little bit. However, the impossible is impossible, and Jia Yan is absolutely determined on this point. Returning to his room, he began to prepare for what he had gained these days and the battle that was about to happen in the future. What they don't know is that the more they get involved with me, the more trouble they will have in the future, alas. Jia Yan was also helpless towards the existences of the angel camp. Their enthusiasm made Jia Yan feel that it was good to be with them as friends, but what he was going to do in the future was destined to set off a huge wave in the starry sky. Wave. I met too many starry sky level players in this so-called conference. Although I lost several games in the last few days using the excuse of lack of energy, it gave me a new experience. So here, I learned there are too many. Jia Yan reviewed his self-summary of his combat experience, roughly sorted it out, and then put it aside. Next, there is something that I can break through soon, and it is also another thing that can quickly improve my strength in addition to mutating again. It's really good. He looked at his body lightly, feeling the way the energy in his body worked. If the four-eyed monster could see the current Jia Yan, he would definitely be stunned. The energy possessed by this flying creature at this time is faintly flowing on the surface of the body. It's vaguely light yellow, and it's actually a true energy that's almost formed. As a being who has completely condensed his true energy, the four-eyed monster knows that it may take several years for him to use the completely condensed true energy for his own use. This is why he still showed up in this conference even though he has clearly condensed his true energy. Reasons that don't have much effect. 5 years from now, the situation may be completely different. Because he had gathered his true energy, if he saw Jia Yan's appearance at this moment, he might actually pop his eyes out of his sockets. Although he knew that Jia Yan had always mentioned the issue of true energy to him, and even communicated deeply with him, but no matter how powerful he thought this foreign aid was, he still would not believe that this strong man could actually in such a short period of time, the prototype of true energy was condensed. But Jia Yan just did it? In fact, if Jia Yan really breaks out the same 8-level strength in the last few days of the conference, then the audience will clearly see that his strength has almost evolved in the form of Chengjuju in the past few days. Even on the same 8th floor, it might be extremely easy for him to fight the horse monster again. But Jia Yan didn't show it. He was just quietly gathering his momentum and raising his momentum to the highest level. Waiting for the coming war. With the new combat experience and the prototype of true power now, Jia Yan's combat strength is even stronger, and he is much more confident about obtaining the Chaos Stone in the future. Everything is waiting for the end of the conference. Whether this operation will escape death or survive smoothly depends on the performance at that time. A night of silence. The second day, today is the last day of the Chaos Stone Collection Conference, and it is also the day of the conference finals. The competition venue, which was already bustling with excitement, was almost full and the crowd was buzzing. Jia Yan also enjoyed a bit of stardom on this day. Although the competition came today, no one was paying attention to their Angel Camp game. However, as a dark horse who performed well in this session, he still has many supporters. Mr. Jia Yan, can I take a photo with you? A weak spectator from the mid-prefecture level came to the resting place of the contestants and said with great admiration for Jia Yan. Okay, Jia Yan was a little shocked. Then I agreed. After the group photo was taken, the audience member said a lot to Jia Yan, and said that if it weren't for the incompetence of his partners, Jia Yan's current achievements might be much higher than this. Jia Yan just smiled lightly. No respond. Jia Yan, it seems that you are still very popular. Do you really want to stay here without considering it? The scaly monster seemed unwilling to give up, and continued to lobby after the audience left. I really have no intention of staying here. However, it is my honor to meet you here. Thank you for bringing me so much happiness. Jia Yan said to several temporary companions around him. He didn't know if these beings would still be his friends after today, but at least they were for now. Haha, what are you talking about? No matter where you go in the future, no matter whether we meet in the future or not, we will always be friends. The four-eyed monster shook his head and laughed. Jia Yan, you will definitely be a very powerful person in the future. If you can remember that there are friends like us in this desolate galaxy. The pink monster also rarely harmed Jia Yan, but spoke seriously. The strong man who didn't like to talk looked at Jia Yan and didn't say anything. But it can be seen that the idea is the same. The competition for the Chaos Stone collection quota on the last day has begun. Look at all the strong men. This is their day and their general joy. Audiences, are your blood boiling? Are your fighting spirit up? Today it will be the end of the conference, and it will also be the opening ceremony of the next conference, the Chaos Stone Collection Conference, our forever favorite. Bang bang bang. Fireworks bloomed in the air, and cheers sounded. As the fireworks bloomed, the first battle began. Because it was the final battle, the rankings were almost fixed, so the battle between the strong men was no longer so exciting, but full of fun and enjoyment. Oh, it was Feng Wan's forces who won. Their battle was so exciting, but the rest of the battle was not going to be easy. One of the two sides in this battle was the biggest dark horse at the beginning of the season that we are familiar with, Angel Camp. The Angel Battalion suffers from a shortage of personnel, and the strong man's combat effectiveness completely drops in the second half. Otherwise, his record is believed to be more than what it is now. We can welcome it. This gives us a powerful matchup that is a visual feast. Their opponent is. After a while. In the Angel Camp player section, Jia Yan said to the four-eyed monster and others with a smile. I'm sorry, I don't know why today I just wanted to be the first to take action. I'll rob all your opponents. You guy. The four-eyed monster couldn't do anything to him. It turns out that in this last battle, Jia Yan volunteered to be ranked first. He didn't know what kind of gunpowder he had taken today, but he actually defeated the other 5 players in one breath. Okay, you are concerned that we have been fighting for so many days and want us to take a rest, right? Thank you. These beings didn't care about Jia Yan's explanation. As a foreign aide, he could still remember to help his customers save energy at this moment, which was considered very qualified. Okay, the finals over there have started, let's go and watch. I won't go, you can learn more experience, Jia Yan said calmly. After all the powerful men from the Angel Camp left, Jia Yan shook his head. Listening to the noise from the outside world, he knew that this voice would soon leave his life. After spending so many days in the venue where the conference was held, Jia Yan gained a lot and had some fun with this novel way of fighting. But he knew that he was still a powerful evolved beast. If he had to make a choice at this moment, then he would definitely choose the previous life and death battle, and he did not want to continue this bloodless battle. It feels like playing house, what's the point? Fortunately, in 3 days, it will be the time for the forces with quotas to start collecting. At that time, if I want to fight, will I still be able to fight? It's better not to die fighting. Jia Yan thought about it, but felt a little strong. The fighting spirit is boiling. Boom boom boom. Not far away, a decisive battle was going on between the strong men of the Jirji team and another powerful force. As for Jia Yan, there was no point in watching their decisive battle. After all, it was not a life and death battle. This kind of battle was meaningless to him now. He just lay there, sorting out his own energy. Sorting it out again and again, clearing energy obstacles for future battles. And the newly realized true power gradually revealed some yellow color, almost solidifying into reality. The battle not far away seems to have reached its peak, and sound waves come out one after another, kept ringing. And the feeling of thousands of people roaring in the audience was also earth-shattering, making people feel like their blood was boiling. But none of this affected Jia Yan now. He just lay there, taking the best care of his body, vaguely like an ancient sword about to be unsheathed. Boom! A shocking sound seemed to blow away the heaven and earth. The entire venue was roaring loudly, and the host's words did not stop for a moment. Not long after, several strong men from the Angel Camp returned with strong expressions of shock and admiration. Okay, Jia Yan, the whole conference is over. The winner is Team Jirji. Their home team is too strong. After looking at Jia Yan, he continued. Can you move? Our players have to go to the exit ceremony. Seeing Jia Yan seeming to be resting, the four-eyed monster felt a little sorry. This powerful foreign aide had spent too much money for the current ranking of their Angel Camp. Plus or minus meow, dot asterisk, pen plus or minus ge plus or minus, oh. But how could Jia Yan consume as much as he thought? When he finished speaking, he stood up. At the exit ceremony, the Angel Battalion was just an inconspicuous small team. It's almost like an opening ceremony. Jia Yan, thank you very much for your contribution to our Angel Camp. In 3 days, the place promised to you will be given to you, the four-eyed monster said to Jia Yan during the exit ceremony. That's good, Jia Yan responded with a faint smile. This volume is over. This volume is too long. I originally thought of dividing the collection conference into one volume, but I didn't do it. As a result, this volume has 50 chapters. The next volume will not be like this. I hope everyone will continue to support Bulletin U, thank you.